Chapter 485. Go All Out. Jean Dwoodwa's eyes, which were sewn together by his fat, tore open his flesh, and his eyes shone brightly. He knew what Chu Yang meant. Only when he used his full strength and displayed the body cultivation technique that he cultivated, would Chu Yang be able to find the right solution. He doesn't even need to look at the cultivation technique. Just by feeling it, he can find the solution? Jean Duo was doubtful. He had been tortured for a long time and couldn't find a solution. Even Chao Ju couldn't do anything. The Violent Saint was also very proficient in body cultivation. He cultivated the 10,000 beasts barbaric body. Chao Ju brought Jean Duo to find the Violent Saint, but the Violent Saint couldn't do anything. Although the Violent Saint was a body cultivator, he had stopped cultivating after reaching the third layer of the ascending soul tier. As for Jean Duo himself, he had encountered a problem when he had reached the 8th layer of the Chi soul tier, resulting in his current appearance. The difficulty of body cultivation was not something that outsiders could imagine. Junior brother Chu, you have to be careful. Jean Duo stopped smiling. I cultivate the 100,000 mountain flesh technique. I encountered problems when I was at the 8th level of the Chi soul realm. I have the strength of 9 dragons and 8 elephants. Now that I'm at the 8th level of the ascending soul realm, I don't dare to increase my strength at all. When he was at the 8th level of the Chi soul realm, he already had the strength of 9 dragons and 8 elephants. Chu Yang was slightly surprised. Because of his innate physique, his strength couldn't exceed the corresponding level. The 8th level of the Chi soul realm corresponded to the strength of 8 dragons. In other words, Jean Duo's strength exceeded the strength of 1 dragon and 8 elephants. Senior brother Urk, go all out. Okay. Jean Duo specially reminded Chu Yang, but when he realized that Chu Yang didn't care about the strength of 9 dragons and 8 elephants, he couldn't help but be shocked. Chao Ju and the Violent Saint also looked at Chu Yang at this time. Junior brother Chu, be careful. Bang! Jean Duo fiercely stamped his foot. Rumble! The ground trembled as if a mountain had fallen down. With this step, Jean Duo's aura changed. It was more than twice as powerful as before. His aura also became incomparably vigorous. 100,000 mountain flesh technique. Jean Duo's voice was incomparably vigorous and heavy. It was as if every syllable was like a mountain pressing down on one's eardrums, causing them to hurt so much that they were about to burst. On Chu Yang's shoulder, little Guai, who had been watching them jest, was shocked by Jean Duo. Buzz. Ripples spread out from Jean Duo's body. The fat all over his body was like a surging wave, moving up and down. It was like an endless mountain range, and following the rise and fall of his muscles, it was as if there were layers upon layers of mountains accumulating together. At this moment, Jean Duo seemed to have turned into a giant. His weight increased exponentially, reaching an astonishing level. The ground under his feet cracked, and terrifying cracks spread out. With such an astonishing weight, even if he didn't use much strength, he could still crush the enemy with just this weight alone. Nature martial spirit, mountain martial spirit? Chu Yang felt the vigor, weight, and vastness of a mountain from Jean Duo's body. Nature martial spirits, like mountains, rivers, lakes, the sun, the moon, and the stars, all had the characteristics of vastness, vigor, and heaviness. Although martial spirits didn't have ranks, and everyone was equal, after all, people's abilities were different. Nature martial spirits were like giants and great people among ordinary people. Once they moved, there would be great movements. Rumble! Jean Duo exerted strength under his feet and suddenly soared into the sky. There was a huge explosion on the ground, and the whole mountain was shaking. His whole body was like an iron ball cast in copper and iron, and he suddenly jumped up in the sky amidst the rumbling sounds. He punched towards Chu Yang. Chapter 486. This punch could have been fast, ruthless, accurate, and vicious, but it wasn't. Although it was heavy, it was extremely slow. Jin Duoduo had deliberately given Chu Yang a chance to dodge, or time to prepare. 1. Before Jin Duoduo had even smashed down, the hard stone body facing the mountain peak below had already begun to wail. It trembled and emitted a buzzing sound. Under an invisible force, the hard surface actually caved in with a crackling sound. Chu Yang's sleeves fluttered in the wind. Some people who weren't strong enough would probably be scared out of their wits and immediately be nailed to the ground. Without being able to move, they would be directly smashed into a meat patty by this huge hammer. Can he block it? Seeing such a powerful blow, the saint child of violence couldn't help but look at Chao Ju worriedly. He had also faced such a blow from Jin Duoduo before. At that time, he didn't take it seriously. His whole body was nailed into the ground like a nail. Chao Ju shook his head. He also didn't know that Jin Duoduo's true ability was so shocking that even he was surprised. 1. At this time, Chu Yang finally made his move. Fluctuations spread out from his body. Immediately, the saint child of violence and Chao Ju suddenly felt that Chu Yang seemed to have merged with the ground under his feet, as well as the whole world. The situation couldn't help but change. The mountain-like aura on Jin Duoduo's body, as heavy as a mountain, completely disappeared in an instant. This is conception. The saint child of violence exclaimed in shock. Chao Ju also narrowed his eyes and said, "This should be momentum." Junior brother Chu is proficient in formations. His attainments in formations are extraordinary. Martial artists referred to conception, while formation masters referred to momentum. Conception was more specific, but formation masters' momentum was all-encompassing. To be precise, conception was also a kind of momentum. It was just a different way of saying it. Boom! Under the gazes of the two, Chu Yang casually stretched out an arm. His arm seemed to have the strength of 1,000 caddies. With just a lift, he blocked Jin Duoduo's fist. Rumble! The earth buzzed, and the ground beneath their feet trembled like waves. This attack was extremely shocking. Even though Jin Duoduo's concept of mountains had been cancelled out by Chu Yang's formation, his punch still contained the power of 9 dragons and 8 elephants. It was a punch that could crack the earth, but in front of Chu Yang's punch, it suddenly became as light as a feather. At that moment, Chu Yang was like a god who had grabbed a falling star with one hand and easily blocked Jin Duoduo's attack. Rumble! The earth trembled and rubble shot up into the sky. Chu Yang stood there motionless. Chu Yang did not use the origin martial third revolution. Instead, he used his true essence to make up for the lack of power. Junior brother Chu, you're really amazing. Very few people can withstand this attack of mine. Jin Duoduo couldn't help but sigh in admiration. Chu Yang was truly monstrous. He was already being modest. Such an attack could easily turn someone into a meat patty. However, he was not disappointed. On the contrary, he was even more expectant. Perhaps Chu Yang really had a way to solve his problem. Senior brother is too modest. Immediately afterward, Chu Yang smiled and said, "However, I don't like this tone and behavior. Are you sure you're the idiot that senior brother Chao mentioned?" Haha. Jin Duoduo couldn't help but laugh. Birds of a feather flocked together. He and his boss, Chao Ju, and Chu Yang could be said to be the same type of people. They liked to mess around and make everything interesting. Omnipotent junior brother Chu, have you found a brilliant plan? Chapter 487. If water was power and Jin Duoduo was the container, then Jin Duoduo's current situation was: there was too much water, and the container was being squeezed out of shape. It was even about to break. As for how Jin Duoduo became like this, Chu Yang did not know. There were 2 solutions: pour out too much water and expand Jin Duoduo's container. After all, power was not water, and it was not a tangible thing. It could not be poured out easily. It required the integration of the body. Jean Duo had probably already tried it. Chu Yang thought of a way to expand the container, and that was to cultivate the innate body. The secret method of cultivating the innate body was Little Six, and it was not easy to pass it on. Moreover, Little Six's secret method was very dangerous. Without the genius martial spirit and the fool martial spirit, Jean Duo's life would be in danger if he cultivated it. Therefore, after frowning slightly, Chu Yang could not help but shake his head. Jean Duo was naturally disappointed, and said with a smile, "It seems that I still have a long way to go to find a wife." Chu Yang heard the disappointment in Jean Duo's words, and said, "Senior brother RK, if you don't mind, let me take a look at the so-called 100,000 flesh mountain technique. Maybe there is a way." It involved the mountain martial spirit, and such a technique was very precious. Who would easily tell you? However, after hearing this, Jean Duo burst into laughter. "Junior brother Chu, you're too much of a girl. Isn't it just 100,000 flesh mountain technique? Here." Immediately, Jean Duo handed over a secret book to Chu Yang in a very heroic manner. "Hee, it seems that I have a good treasure." "Ha ha." Jean Duo laughed again. From Chu Yang's cautious tone just now, Chu Yang was not a person who coveted his 100,000 flesh mountain technique. "Junior brother Chu, it seems that you really think of me as Air Quebec. You were originally Air K, but you managed to cultivate to such a state." Chao Ju added insult to injury. Violent Saint looked at this scene and felt that it had been a long time. When he joined the Five Elements sect, although the conflict between the brothers was fierce, there were also many who got along well. Over the years, there were fewer and fewer people like this in the Five Elements sect. Generally speaking, a group of disciples would flatter and crowd around a high and mighty person, such as the Five Elements Divine Child or the Burning Sky Saint Child. They were equals and didn't know each other that well, but they could joke and chat. It was truly a rare sight. After that, Chu Yang quickly flipped through the pages. This 100,000 flesh mountain technique was indeed created on the basis of the mountain martial spirit. The first page of the secret manual was the visualization diagram of the mountain martial spirit. Chu Yang could only feel that in that instant, a towering mountain was pressing down on him from the top of the secret manual. In that instant, he couldn't even breathe properly. Then, he activated his genius martial spirit and everything disappeared. After that, apart from the majesty, vastness, and heaviness of the mountain, this towering mountain became even clearer. The towering trees, high mountains, flowing rivers, birds, and beasts were all enshrouded in dense mist. Although it was only a visualization diagram, Chu Yang suddenly felt that he was incomparably small, like a speck of dust. But, if he were to climb to the top of the mountain, he would certainly feel the emotions and lofty sentiments of standing at the top of the mountain. After that, Chu Yang quickly flipped through the pages and at the same time, he began to deduce. His eyes flickered with the light of wisdom. In his consciousness, the genius martial spirit held the universal imaging apparatus and started to deduce more rapidly. Images, meridians, acupoints, and so on appeared one by one, becoming clearer and clearer. Buzz. Immediately, there was a fluctuation coming from Chu Yang's body. Jean Duo, Chao Ju, and the violent Saint Child saw that the acupoints on Chu Yang's body were like thousands of lights. When night fell, they lit up, and then his body blossomed with dazzling light. The five-colored quintessence flowed through these acupoints like a five-colored line. In an instant, it formed the outline of a majestic mountain. It was like a great painter had painted the entire mountain with just a few strokes. His comprehension is so fast. He is already cultivating. The three of them were shocked by this speed. Not good. Chapter 488. Just as they were about to speak, they suddenly realized that Chu Yang seemed to have disappeared. They could only see the wall-facing mountain in front of them, but they could not see Chu Yang. Such an illusion only lasted for a moment. Chu Yang was still in the same place, but the difference was that he seemed to have completely merged with the wall-facing mountain, becoming a part of it, as if he was a stone on the mountain. Chao Ju, Jin Duoduo, and the violent Holy Sun could not help but look at each other. Should we interrupt? They instantly hesitated. Jin Duoduo's cultivation had a problem, but it did not mean that Chu Yang could do it. The scene in front of them was too shocking. Chu Yang's comprehension and mastery of the 100,000 flesh mountain technique was far beyond Jin Duoduo's. On this point, Jin Duoduo also admitted that it was very difficult for him to visualize the mountain martial spirit's visualization diagram for the first time. It was even impossible for him to visualize it because the mountains on the visualization diagram were too majestic. The most difficult part of the 100,000 flesh mountain technique was that he could not control the mountain martial spirit, and he could not control the strength of his body. It could be said that without the mountain martial spirit, it was very difficult to cultivate the 100,000 flesh mountain technique, and in the end, he would end up like him. Boom! While they were hesitating, the void behind Chu Yang trembled, and a giant seemed to walk out from the endless void and appeared behind him. This was the manifestation of Chu Yang's innate earth physique, the giant's spirit treasure body. On the shoulder of the giant there was a huge 5-colored beast. At this time, the three of them also realized that Xiao Guai, who was on Chu Yang's shoulder, was comprehending the 100,000 flesh mountain technique together with Chu Yang. It can also control the mountain martial spirit, it actually learned it. Master is amazing, Xiao Guai is also amazing. The three of them were shocked, but then they were stunned. They looked at Chu Yang and suddenly saw a floating mountain on his body, as light as a speck of dust. Chu Yang's comprehension of light and heavy was also reflected in it. Yeah. Xiao Guai could not do it, and the little thing was immediately dissatisfied. Buzz buzz buzz. The fluctuations on Chu Yang's body were even more obvious. Chao Ju and the others could clearly see the waves on Chu Yang's arm rushing towards his fist. It wasn't as obvious as Jin Duoduo's. His muscles undulated like mountains. However, as Chu Yang's arm fluctuated, the air was captured and transformed into numerous mountains. The peaks rose and fell in sync with the fluctuations on Chu Yang's hand. At first glance, his arm was the earth, and it was as if an endless mountain range had fallen onto his arm. What was even more shocking was that, after the mountain-like power was transmitted to Chu Yang's fist, Chu Yang was actually able to draw it back and even guide it back to his body through his arm. Yeah. The 5-colored little beast's immature voice rang out again. At this time, Chao Ju and the other two discovered the abnormality. The temperature around Chu Yang had suddenly become ice-cold. Soon, goose feather-like snowflakes began to fall from the air around him. Boom! The three of them suddenly realized that the power in Chu Yang's body was collapsing inwards. It could be seen that his aura was dropping visibly like water level, and the power around him was restrained to the extreme. He found a way to restrain the abundant power in my body. Jin Duoduo's eyes suddenly lit up. Chao Ju and the violent saint naturally also noticed it. They were also very surprised that he found the flaw of the cultivation method so quickly and then fixed it. What kind of method is it? Chapter 489. Chu Yang opened his eyes, and there seemed to be mountains rising and falling in his pupils. He didn't find a way. Looking at Jin Duoduo's hopeful eyes, he couldn't say anything. When water turned into ice, the density of ice was greater. With the same mass, the volume of ice should be smaller than water, but the result was not so. Using this analogy, Chu Yang visualized the mountain martial spirit into the iceberg martial spirit, hoping that the power would be frozen like water, but he failed. The volume of this power was not small, but large. Not only did the power not converge, it was released even more. If it fell on Jin Duoduo, he would probably gain a lot more weight. Yes, Chu Yang's aura collapsed inwards just now, But that was because he added the mountain martial spirit into the 5 elements cycle seal. Because of the addition of the element of the mountain martial spirit, the seal turned into a mountain. The cycle of the 5 elements was like 5 mountains circulating, and the cycle was many times more powerful. As for the sign of Chu Yang's aura collapsing inwards, it was because the seal had rolled up and swallowed a lot of true essence. The density of the same substance in the solid state should be much higher than in the liquid state, and the volume of the same mass should be smaller than the volume of the liquid. But why is it that after a certain amount of water turns into ice, the volume of the ice becomes larger? Chu Yang couldn't help but frown. When ice turned into water, the volume decreased, and when water turned into ice, the volume increased. But he quickly figured it out. If ice was stone, it was like a lot of boulders piled together. Because there were gaps, it took up a lot of space. If it was water, it was like grinding a boulder into stone powder. There were almost no gaps between the stone powder, so the space it took up was naturally small. Hey! Chu Yang's mind suddenly turned. If I think so, Senior Brother Chow and the others probably think so too. Immediately, he said, Senior Brother Jean, you visualized the mountain martial spirit into the iceberg martial spirit. Jean Duo was surprised. How do you know? Chao Ju was also surprised. He had asked Jean Duo to do this. Sure enough, Chu Yang smiled. Senior Brother Jean, why don't you change back the iceberg martial spirit and try it? Reverse. This was reliable. Jean Duo was bewildered. The image of Chu Yang pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger immediately appeared in his mind. Could this be a trap for him as well? He was too familiar with Chu Yang and boss conduct. His eyes peeked at Chu Yang through the gaps in his flesh, only to see Chu Yang smiling. He looked at his boss again. Chao Ju was very familiar with this little action. He gave him a kick and said, Idiot, who are you looking at? Jean Duo rolled out like a ball and immediately rolled back. He said with a smile, Boss, I'm on the road to becoming fat, and I don't even have a wife. I don't have anything to live for. You have to believe in Junior Brother Chu's character. Not only was Jean Duo speechless, but Chu Yang was also speechless. Was there a need to talk about character? I'm fat and I'm proud. If you want to do it, then be the fattest fatty in the world. Idiot, I support you. When it came to character, Chu Yang spoke again and again, as if it had nothing to do with him, and he continued, Also, Senior Brother Idiot, you can imagine a picturesque scene. Shake the fat on your body and roar. Who dares to let themselves be so fat? No one will dare to answer. What kind of style would that be? Jean Duo was defeated in an instant. Chu Yang was simply invincible. That makes sense. If you want to do it, then be the fattest one. Chu Yang echoed, That's right, I'm not a fatty. I'm a meatball. I'll speak for meatballs. Jean Duo was almost in a mess. Chu Yang was too capable, but Chu Yang's actions made him less suspicious. Anyway, I'm fat. Jean Duo sat cross-legged and closed his eyes. With a heroic mood, he began to try. Immediately, his body emitted an extremely vigorous aura like that of a mountain. Closely after, his meatball-like body suddenly shriveled up at a speed visible to the naked eye. It was like a ball that had been deflated. This is even possible. He almost jumped out of his seat. Chao Ju was also shocked. He realized that he might have made a very big mistake all along. But Jean Duo's body shriveled up even more. Under the effect of his true origin, his loose skin immediately shrank and tightened up again. Then, a burly man with a stocky back and a bear's waist appeared in front of Chu Yang and Chao Ju. The difference in volume between water and ice shouldn't be too big, but with one being positive and the other being negative, this could save a lot of volume. In other words, the restraint of power was enough to completely restore Jean Duo's body size. It seems that I have to go back and have my brain checked. At this time, How could Chao Ju not know that his previous guidance to Jean Duoduo was completely wrong from head to toe? Chu Yang was speechless. He, who came from another world and claimed to have learned chemistry, had made such a mistake. What was so strange about Chao Ju making the same mistake? Chapter 490. Ha ha! Chao Ju immediately laughed. That's enough. Urk doesn't need to use his martial soul to suppress this power. He can break through immediately after releasing it. Then, everything will be solved. That's true. Chu Yang didn't think about this and instantly felt relieved. While the two were talking, Jean Duoduo opened his eyes and stood up, laughing. Haha, wife, I'm here. The violent saint saw that the three were very funny and also spoke. He scanned Jean Duoduo from head to toe and finally stopped at his rough face. He opened his mouth and said, "It's too early for you to say that. Your appearance is also unsightly." He focused on the appearance. Can you speak human language? After Jean Duoduo despised him, he said proudly, "Don't you know that women like masculine men? Looks are not important. What's important is that the man has to be masculine because such a man is usually very fierce. Please note that I am like this. Don't be envious." "Urk, I'm envious of you." Chao Ju looked at him with disdain. Jean Duoduo immediately retorted, "Boss, you're jealous because you're fat. But that's normal fat. There's no cure for it." Chao Ju glared at him. Jean Duoduo immediately felt refreshed. I can finally say that people are fat. After some jesting, they dispersed. Only Chu Yang stayed at facing the wall peak. When he was about to immerse himself in cultivation, he smelled a fragrance. When he opened his eyes again, a bright and beautiful woman was already glaring at him with her beautiful eyes. Her eyes were full of anger. The woman was wearing a dark green jade smoke gown and a green grass pleated skirt with scattered flowers and mist. Her shoulders were thin, her waist was thin, and her skin was congealed. Her aura was like an orchid. Her eyebrows were like distant mountains, her skin was smooth and soft like warm jade. Her small cherry lips were red without any lipstick, delicate and beautiful. The 2 strands of hair on her cheeks gently brushed against her face with the wind, adding a bit of seductive charm. Ding Sitong. Chu Yang grinned from ear to ear and ignored Ding Sitong's anger. "Sister-in-law, I know that you love your little brother dearly. There's nothing in this damned place. Sister-in-law must have brought me something delicious." Ding Sitong was so angry that she laughed. He still wanted to eat now. She angrily scolded, "Are you crazy? Sister-in-law." The shocked voice behind her pulled Ding Sitong back from her anger. There was another person behind her. It was Qian Aoshue. Ding Sitong's face turned red. Because of anger, she even forgot to take these things into consideration. She was close to Qian Aoshue, so naturally, she would not deliberately guard against it. In addition, she never thought that Chu Yang would still call her sister-in-law when there was an outsider present. When she saw Chu Yang smiling foolishly, it was as if everything had nothing to do with him. This made her even angrier. This scoundrel did it on purpose to announce to everyone that she was his sister-in-law. She couldn't help but grind her teeth. Wasn't she hiding this for the sake of your big brother? And also for the sake of this bastard brat? Senior sister Yu Qian Aoshue still had a hot figure and an ice-cold expression. After not seeing her for a long time, Chu Yang found that this little girl seemed to be more and more attractive. Her oval face was as smooth as cream, and her eyes were as blue as gemstones. Under the high bridge of her nose, her red lips were more beautiful than the rest. She was wearing a tube top and shorts made of pure white velvet that shone with a silver light. Her lower abdomen and legs were boldly exposed. Her bare feet were flawless and tied with a few thin red strings. It was like the most perfect work of ivory masters. Her figure was already very hot. So, the way she was dressed made it even more explosive. Moreover, she was brimming with youthful vitality. The combination of these two together made her even more alluring. Chu Yang felt that his mouth and tongue were dry for no reason. So, he swallowed his saliva. You are already married to the unparalleled saint? Qian Aoshue was shocked by Chu Yang calling her sister-in-law. She finally opened her mouth and asked. She wore a pair of sky-blue bracelets on her wrist. There were many small bells on them. At this time, as if she was shocked, a series of crisp and pleasant bells rang out as her delicate body moved. Don't listen to this scoundrel's nonsense. You still don't know his cheap mouth. Ding Xidong's face turned even redder. Sister-in-law, isn't this something that will happen sooner or later? Chu Yang looked away from Qian Aoshue with difficulty. If this little girl found out that he actually had dirty thoughts about her, she would be furious on the surface but proud on the inside. Yes, that must be it. Shut up. Ding Xitong was embarrassed and angry. Together with the previous matter, she almost yelled, Chu Yang, tell me, are you crazy? You actually want to fight to the death with the Divine Sun? Pfft, what Divine Sun? Chu Yang was dissatisfied. Sister-in-law, can you talk about the Divine Sun? You seem to be in awe of him. What do you mean by seem to be in awe of him? Everyone in the Five Elements sect was in awe of the Five Elements Divine Sun. Only you, a scoundrel, actually wanted to fight the Five Elements Divine Sun one-on-one, not to mention in awe. Even your brother would not have half the guts. Chapter 491. Ding Xitong really couldn't do anything to a rascal like Chu Yang. She gritted her teeth as if she was biting Chu Yang's flesh and said angrily, Apologize. Apologize to the Five Elements Divine Child immediately. Apologize? What a joke. Even if Chu Yang went to apologize, the Five Elements Divine Child would still kill him, given his murderous intent. However, he couldn't help but feel warm inside. His future sister-in-law was worried about him after all, but her idea was too lousy. Suddenly, Chu Yang thought of his violent sister, Chu Na. My future sister-in-law is so anxious. As your sister, I'm probably burning inside right now. Damn it. Chu Yang was in a terrible mood. I'm not going. Ding Xitong put her hands on her hips and glared at him, her eyes spitting fire. In the name of your sister-in-law, I order you to go. It's no use even if Big Brother comes now. Sister-in-law, give me a nephew first. Nephew? Would you still be able to see it if I gave birth to one with your big brother? Chu Yang was still in the mood to joke with her at a time like this. Ding Xitong couldn't help but hit him on the head, as if she was teaching her younger brother a lesson. Are you going or not? Damn it, my sister-in-law has gotten into character so quickly. She's already teaching her brother-in-law a lesson. Chu Yang was depressed, and his head was already swollen. No, I'm not going. I won't go even if you beat me to death. A real man shouldn't spit or nail, but when he saw Ding Xidong's eyes, which were about to spit fire, he immediately changed his tone and said meekly, Sister-in-law, spilled water can't be taken back. Ding Xitong looked much better. Chu Yang finally spoke seriously, as if he was finally afraid, but only for a second. Sister-in-law, you're underestimating me. It's just a Five Elements Divine Child. I can take care of him with a wave of my hand. To be honest, half a year is too long. However, no one thought that Chu Yang could defeat the Five Elements Divine Child in half a year. Ding Xitong also thought so when she heard Chu Yang's arrogant words, her anger couldn't help but surge. Sister-in-law, calm down. Being angry will make your woman grow old and ugly. Be careful not to become ugly. My brother will dump you. At that time, I can't even call you sister-in-law even if I want to. Are you trying to appease me? Ding Xitong glared at him with her almond-shaped eyes. She really had no way to deal with Chu Yang, so she looked at Qian Aoshue. Give me the little beast on your shoulder. Qian Aoshue said in a cold voice. I can let you cancel the life and death battle with the Son of God without being humiliated. Yeah. Little Guai was a little scared to give it away. It clenched its little paws into fists and raised them, making a ferocious look. However, it looked even cuter. Qian Aoshue's expression was the best reaction. It was as cold as ice, and it melted in an instant. Even her beautiful eyes were smiling. What a big tone! Chu Yang was shocked. Could it be that this little girl was a fair-skinned, rich, and beautiful girl with a frightening background? Do you have that ability? My grandfather is the highest elder. Highest elder? Chu Yang's mouth couldn't help but twitch. This little girl's brain structure was a little too simple. She didn't even know what was going on, and she jumped out to take on everything. Although Qian Aoshue was very beautiful, her IQ really made Chu Yang angry. He was very angry. This has nothing to do with you. Go away. You! Qian Aoshue was furious that her good intentions were taken for granted. If it weren't for her senior sister Ding Sidong, she wouldn't have dared to do this. She didn't expect Chu Yang to be so ungrateful. Chapter 492. Bullshit 5 Elements Divine Child. You sure talk big. Aren't you afraid that the wind will cut your tongue? Qian Aoshue decided to settle it all at once. She would beat Chu Yang violently for a while, and let him know how powerful she was. She would also snatch the little beast away, and complete her senior sister's task. Her thoughts were immediately smoothed out, and she felt refreshed. Rumble! The sound of the great river flowing east was like the sound of a surging river. Qian Aoshue directly attacked. With a wave of her slender hand, a jade belt lay across space and transformed into an expanse of glaciers that surged out from one of the rivers. It was like an ice dragon that was baring its fangs and brandishing its claws as it surged towards Chu Yang. The sound of the surging ice river was like a star crushing through the void, rumbling and deafening. Waves of cold air were emitted as ice flowers bloomed one after another. They were sparkling and translucent, suffused with a cold light, causing people's hearts to palpitate. Whoosh! Whoosh! As the ice flowers flew over, the sound of them breaking through the air was mixed with the rumbling sound. It was like thunder and the sound of heavy rain. The entire world seemed to have been frozen in an instant. Chu Yang instantly felt a surge of cold energy and water vapor. His limbs turned ice-cold and stiffened. It was as if he was in the middle of the coldest winter. His face was ice-cold, but it was burning with pain. Chu Yang's face was abnormally cold, but it was burning with pain. His face was almost frostbitten. Little miss, what an amazing aura! The ice river was huge, spanning across the void, covering the sky and the sun. In front of this ice river, Chu Yang felt like he was facing the mountain martial spirit. He felt that he was extremely small and was completely submerged by a vigorous and vast force. He was like a speck of dust, a duckweed, and also like he was facing the end of the world. Ice River Martial Spirit. This little girl's martial spirit is actually the river martial spirit of the nature martial spirits. Chu Yang was a little shocked. Qian Aoshue's cultivation was only at the 8th level of the ascending soul realm, so Chu Yang didn't feel much pressure to deal with him. Little girl, you're disobedient. Are you looking for me to spank you? 1. Chu Yang could use this 100,000 mountain flesh art to test it out. Instantly, a wave of air around him shot straight up into the sky. In a trance, it was as if a towering mountain had risen from the ground. A majestic and boundless aura surged out, and the air formed a visible wave that rushed out. The muscles all over his body began to ripple, especially the undulation of his spine, which was like a mountain range. Origin Martial Third Revolution. Third Circulation of Qi Soul. Rumble. Chu Yang completely exploded, using the Origin Martial Third Transformation and Qi Soul Third Transformation. Otherwise, he might not be a match for an ascending soul realm 8th layer. At this moment, the aura around him became even more majestic. His entire being seemed to grow infinitely taller, turning into a giant that was as tall as the sky. He punched out toward Bing He, and the waves on his arms surged toward his fist like many mountains. Rumble! Raging waves crashed onto the shore, and the waves were thousands of feet high. The vast being he was like a river that had come out of a deep valley. When it met a towering mountain in front of it, it was instantly split in half, and could only go around the mountain, becoming a river of life that nourished the towering mountain's vegetation, birds, and beasts. There was not the slightest bit of ferocity left. When the snowflakes landed on the towering mountain, it was like a torrential downpour, unable to shake the towering mountain in the slightest. Qian Aoshue's attack was actually so weak. How is this possible? I'm in the Ascending Soul Realm 8th layer, and this bastard is only in the 7th layer of Qi Soul Realm. Qian Aoshue's heart trembled. Not only was she in the 8th layer of Ascending Soul Realm, she also had the Ice River Martial Spirit. Such an attack was actually so easily blocked. The quality of the true Yuan of the 8th layer of Ascending Soul Realm was at least 10 levels higher than that of the 7th layer of Qi Soul Realm. However, her true Yuan of the 8th layer of Ascending Soul Realm was actually unable to shake the mountain formed by Chu Yang's true Yuan. Could it be that his mountain martial spirit is special? But he doesn't have a mountain martial spirit at all. Her thoughts were also in a mess. Everything had completely exceeded her imagination. This bastard, who she had chased to the point where there was no door to heaven and no path to down to earth, was actually so terrifying. Adding on the strength of a body cultivator, it shouldn't be so ridiculous. Chapter 493. Xiaopingyang was extremely shocked. Chu Yang's future sister-in-law Ding Xidong's beautiful eyes also widened. Suddenly, her watery eyes seemed to have widened several times, and that pool of water seemed to have turned into a lake, sparkling with light. How is this possible? Her entire body was almost petrified, like a lifelike sculpture carved by a craftsman with uncanny craftsmanship. Chu Yang now had the strength of 7 dragons and 9 elephants, and the third transformation of the primitive martial art was 23 dragons and 7 elephants. Ignoring soul pressure, 10 dragons could fight against the first layer of the Ascending Soul Realm, and 11 dragons could fight against the second layer of the Ascending Soul Realm. So on and so forth, the strength of 19 dragons could fight against a martial artist in the 9th layer of the Ascending Soul Realm. Chu Yang's strength of 237 elephants could directly crush a martial artist in the 8th layer of the Ascending Soul Realm. Although Qian Aoshue was extraordinary, and the glacier martial spirit was vast and possessed great power that could offset a large amount of power, Chu Yang could also visualize the mountain martial spirit. The third transformation of the Qi Soul meant that his true Yuan would be 3 times stronger. His true Yuan was definitely not inferior to Qian Aoshue's true Yuan. Chu Yang's true Yuan was shocking. When he was in the primitive martial realm, his true Yuan was comparable to true Yuan. After the Qi Soul realm, his true Yuan was several levels higher than others. Plus, the true Yuan he cultivated was the most basic 9 types of true Yuan. His true Yuan was incomparably strong, and no one could compare. It could be said that after the third transformation of the Qi Soul, his true Yuan was several levels higher than Qian Aoshue's true Yuan. In terms of strength, true Yuan, and martial spirit, Qian Aoshue was no match for him. How could she be Chu Yang's opponent? Rumble! Chu Yang's fist went straight ahead like a moving mountain. The ice river crashed into it, and the waves of water rushed up to the 9th heaven. The ice river was cut open by Chu Yang's scissors, like a piece of cloth. Chu Yang's scissors didn't stop him at all. Bang! The air exploded, and Chu Yang's fist stopped in front of Qian Aoshue's red lips. Immediately, Qian Aoshue's lipstick was left on his fist, and the mark of her lips was very clear. This little girl, she's not scared silly, is she? Chu Yang's fist was already slow enough to allow her to dodge, but this little girl didn't move at all. Her beautiful eyes were filled with horror, as if she had seen an evil ghost. Qian Aoshue's nose was very cute. Chu Yang couldn't help but pinch her little nose. He thought to himself, This little girl is really alluring. I really can't control myself. Little master, when did I become so unbearable? Qian Aoshue's lethality towards men was astonishingly obvious. Chu Yang felt that his heart was about to give birth to a tender and protective feeling for the fairer sex. He immediately laughed and said, "Little miss, are you deeply impressed by my heaven-warping divine martial skill? Are you irredeemably in love with my heaven-warping divine martial skill? If that's the case, I can reluctantly accept you as my bed-warmer. You can massage my back, rub my shoulders, warm my bed, and give birth to my child." The contemptuous, frivolous, and teasing expressions broke into Qian Aoshue's heart one by one. Her heart was burning with anger. When she was about to explode, she felt a big hand on her butt. It was not warm, but it was very hard. It fell hard on her butt. Pah! After a crisp sound, it was Chu Yang's evaluation. "It seems to be a very good hen's butt," Chu Yang muttered to himself as he looked at his own hand. His eyes were blurred, as if he was reminiscing about something. However, it was not his single hand that had done it. It was the hand formed from true essence that had done it. His future sister-in-law was in front of him, so he had to give her some face. He could not go too far. Qian Aoshue screamed, as if she had just woken up after being drugged and humiliated. She immediately bared her fangs and brandished her claws, pouncing on Chu Yang crazily. Chi! From under Chu Yang's feet, a shadow shot out along the ground. It wrapped around Qian Aoshue's jade-like feet and suddenly tied them up. Qian Aoshue immediately lost her balance. Her pretty face directly hit the ground for intimate contact. However, there was no impact. From the shadow, 2 rows of straight little hands appeared along her jade-like feet, supporting her whole body. In an instant, Qian Aoshue felt that she had been molested. She felt that countless hands of Chu Yang had fallen on her body. She had goosebumps all over her body, as if there were countless ants crawling on her body. Her body seemed to have been electrified, and there was a strange feeling flowing through it. Chapter 494. I'll fight you to the death. Qian Aoshue was so angry that she completely lost her mind. With a boom, an ice river wrapped around her body and cut off the shadow lines on her feet. The shadow hands also exploded into pieces. A pair of ice wings unfolded behind her back, and she flew up like an ice phoenix. The ice river around her body rushed out first, like a huge ice arrow shot out by an ice phoenix. However, she suddenly felt her body become heavy, and a huge suction force burst out from the ground. She was caught off guard, and her whole body fell straight down. With a bang, Qian Aoshue's whole body directly wrote a human-shaped character on the ground. Her body was petite and charming, and it was obvious that it was written by a woman. With a sizzling sound, rays of light and shadow intertwined, trapping Qian Aoshue like a dumpling. This time, the rays of light and shadow were mixed with 7 kinds of true essence. She couldn't break free even if she wanted to. Chu Yang used the 1,000 lights and 10,000 shadows art. He really didn't dare to compliment Qian Aoshue's fighting skills. Her awareness was too weak, and she was too weak. It's not good for a woman to be too heavy. Chu Yang used a shadow line to hang Qian Aoshue up, and endlessly educated her. If you're too heavy, it means you're fat. If you're fat, it means you're ugly. If you're ugly, then no one will want you. He touched his chin and said with an enlightened look, "Now I understand why you want to jump on a man and have children. You're afraid that you won't be able to get married." Qian Aoshue was so embarrassed that she wanted to die. She screamed again and again, and the high decibel almost pierced Chu Yang's eardrums. "What are you crying for?" Chu Yang immediately reprimanded her. "I said you were wrong, I said you were wrong, and I said you were wrong. You still feel wronged and you're still crying. I'm annoyed just listening to you." As if he was teaching a child, Chu Yang's true essence turned into a big hand, and he hit the seemingly good-looking hen's butt. The crisp sound was endless. "Stop it!" Ding Sitong roared. She was about to faint from anger. Chu Yang was really too outrageous. He actually ridiculed a girl like this. She had never thought that Chu Yang would be so outrageous. Qian Aoshue was like a little fool in front of him, so she couldn't react immediately. "Sister-in-law, don't be so loud. This brat's voice is already loud enough." Chu Yang couldn't help but pinch his ears and say with an aggrieved expression, "Sister-in-law, you have to educate her. This is too outrageous. A girl pounces on a man the moment she sees him. What a scandal! I'm sacrificing myself for others. I'm already under a lot of pressure for her to pounce on me and give birth to my child. With such a silly girl as my bedwarmer servant girl, I am very worried that she will throw herself at other men. Is that right? Which girl can stand your taunts? You feel wronged." Ding Sitong's face was filled with black lines. Like a lioness, her silver teeth were about to bite someone. She ordered Chu Yang, let go immediately." "No. Are you going to let go or not?" "I just won't let go." Seeing that Ding Sitong was about to make a move, Chu Yang didn't want to fight with this future sister-in-law. If he accidentally took advantage of her, then things would be serious. He immediately used Qian Aoshue as a weapon and blocked in front of him. "Sister-in-law, this is the weapon that I'm most comfortable with. Please take a look. Don't be hurt by my weapon later." Chapter 495. Ding Sitong lost her temper. A woman like Qian Aoshue was loved by so many men. Which one of them didn't rush to curry favor with her? Chu Yang, on the other hand, had already used Qian Aoshue as a shield to block the bullet. "What do you want?" "It's not what I want, but what she wants." Chu Yang pointed at Qian Aoshue. As he spoke, he condensed a large hand with his quintessence and slapped her seemingly good chicken butt. "This little girl has a huge psychological trauma. There's something wrong with her brain. If I let go of her, she'll probably pounce on me and have a child with me. What do you think I should do?" He spread his hands and said helplessly, "It's broad daylight. Sister-in-law, I have to be careful of my image. I can't be too immoral, right?" Qian Aoshue was furious. After being said like this by Chu Yang, Ding Sitong felt that if Qian Aoshue didn't fight him to the death, then there would be something wrong. "Let go. I promise that Junior Aoshue won't attack again." "No, no, no." Chu Yang shook his head repeatedly. "Sister-in-law, you have a lot of face in front of me, but there's something wrong with this little girl's brain. She might not give you face like I do. You still know how to give me face. You're the one with a problem in your brain. If you say that in front of her, Junior Aoshue will lose face. She won't agree even if she dies." Ding Sitong gritted her teeth until her teeth hurt and her head hurt. Even if Chu Yang let go of Qian Aoshue would definitely fight Chu Yang to the death. However, she wasn't a match for this bastard Chu Yang at all. Chu Yang was a monster. He was only at the 7th level of the Chi Soul Realm, but he was able to beat an 8th level of the Ascending Soul Realm. "Little sheep." Suddenly, before she arrived, a furious roar rang out. Just by hearing this voice, one could tell that this girl was furious. She was about to kill someone. At this time, Ding Sitong miraculously saw that the lawless bastard Chu Yang actually panicked. It seemed like he wanted to throw Qian Aoshue aside and immediately run away. His expression was conflicted. Swoosh! 2 ear-piercing sounds rang out. In an instant 2 beautiful people appeared in front of Ding Sitong. Then, she saw Chu Yang planting Qian Aoshue into the ground as if he was planting a tree. Then, he greeted them with a flattering smile. Captivating the birds and wild geese, overshadowing the moon and putting the flowers to shame, causing the downfall of a city and a country. Turning around, a smile is enchanting. Ding Sitong realized that Chu Yang had used almost all the words that could describe a woman's beauty in the world. A puppy would definitely not be as obedient as Chu Yang was now. Not to mention Ding Sitong, even Qian Aoshue was amazing. Who was this person? My loving sister, this cliff peak is so deserted. Why are you here? Chu Yang finally said the name of this woman. It was his elder sister Chu Na. This made Ding Sitong and Qian Aoshue feel a burst of surprise. It turned out to be such a divine figure. This bastard Chu Yang was actually so afraid of his elder sister. Little sheep, come here. Chu Na ordered while gritting her teeth. Wang Xiaoman looked at Xiao Guai from the side, and her eyes were about to turn into the shape of hearts. Sister, can you not go? You can try. Chu Yang could only go over. Bang! Chu Na fiercely punched Chu Yang in the stomach. Ding Sitong and Qian Aoshue were so shocked that they wanted to cry out. They thought that Chu Yang would definitely explode, but they only heard Chu Yang pretend to be in pain and howl. Are you holding your sister or not? Ouch! Before Chu Yang could finish speaking, his right eye was punched, and immediately a panda eye appeared. However, Chu Na continued to attack, and he hurriedly dodged. You still dare to dodge? Stand still. Chu Na was flustered and exasperated because she couldn't hit him. Chu Yang could only stand still. Bang! His left eye was immediately punched, followed by his nose. Immediately, his nose started to bleed. Then, he was punched and kicked. I say, sister, have you calmed down yet? Chu Yang's voice was weak, and he was really like a little sheep. His appearance was simply ridiculous, and Ding Sitong and Qian Aoshue felt that it was strange. Kneel! Chapter 496. Sister, a man has gold under his knees. Don't you like to kneel? Aren't you very capable of kneeling down and swearing? Sister, I have no choice. That bullshit shit on my head and even asked me for paper. What do you think I can do? You still think you're in the right? Chu Na punched and kicked him again. Chu Yang knew that if he didn't give her an explanation, she would probably be worried all day long. He could only lie. Sister, you're good. Stop hitting me. I'll tell you the truth, okay? Chu Yang covered his head with his hands and begged for mercy. This is Brother Xiaofei's idea. Brother Xiaofei said that he has many enemies in the Five Elements sect, so he can't help it. Especially that bullshit Five Elements divine child. He's just a bag of straw on the inside. Others don't know that he knows. So, Brother Xiaofei said that if there's no other way, we'll use this idiot on the outside to make an example out of him. The effect will be excellent. After all, this idiot is very good at pretending. Really? Chu Na didn't believe it at all. If you don't believe me, you can ask sister-in-law. Chu Yang took out his trump card and looked at Ding Sitong. Sister-in-law. Chu Na was stunned. When did she have a sister-in-law? Why didn't she know? However, when she looked at Ding Sitong, she realized that Ding Sitong didn't explain. Instead, she blushed. She understood that she was an idiot. It's really sister-in-law. See, I didn't lie to you. Ding Sitong immediately knew what Chu Yang was up to. He wanted to use her secret as his sister-in-law to gain his sister's trust. Fine, you're right. Chu Na asked angrily again. Chu Yang, the strongest person in the Five Elements sect, ganged up on the 15 peaks. What's going on? The strongest person in the Five Elements sect ganged up on the 15 peaks. Why didn't I know about this? Chu Yang was dumbfounded. You still want to act in front of me? Chu Na was so angry that she wanted to hit him again. Chu Yang quickly dodged. My dear sister, I really don't know. What do you want me to say? Chu Yang was really in a dilemma. He really didn't know. If you don't know, who knows? Chu Na became even angrier. Do you think I don't know you well with that mouth of yours? It's not like your words can spread throughout the entire sect. Sister, I really didn't say that. Chu Yang's heart couldn't help but sink. Who was it? As for whether it was true or not, there was no need to doubt it. News of Chu Na's actions had definitely spread throughout the sect, and everyone knew about it. Quibble, I'll let you quibble. Chu Na gave him another round of punches and kicks as she scolded, "You've just poked a huge hole in the sky. Can't you stop for a while? You keep poking and tormenting me. You won't stop until the sky collapses, right? Sister, you've wronged me." Chu Yang suddenly saw Wang Xiaoman's gaze. He finally found his savior. "Sister, if you don't believe me, you can ask little Guai." When Chu Yang was being beaten up by Chu Na, little Guai had already escaped from his shoulder. At this moment, when Chu Na looked over, it was actually a little scared and took a step back. It was really a little scared of Chu Na. She had just beaten up Chu Yang too ferociously. And with its little appearance, let alone Chu Na, even Qian Aoshue, who was tied up and planted, had her eyes glowing. "Little Guai, this is our sister. Don't be scared of her. Beating is a sign of affection and scolding is a sign of love. She won't beat people up for no reason." Little Guai nodded and actually agreed. This made Chu Yang speechless. Yeah. Little Guai cupped its fists with its little paws, which meant that it was greeting its sister. Then, it called out sweetly, "Come, little Guai, come to sister." Chu Na seemed to have forgotten everything. She opened her arms and welcomed little Guai. Little Guai scratched its head with its little paws and walked over, seemingly a little embarrassed. "Haha, little Guai, you're really too cute." Chu Na had already picked it up and was cheering endlessly. Chu Yang escaped from the fire pit and let out a long sigh of relief. But his eyes were even more gloomy. "Who tricked me? Even if I don't kill you, I'll cripple you." The number 1 person of the 5 Elements sect ganged up on the 15 peak. This was too hateful. He would definitely be beaten up by the crowd immediately. Chapter 497. Chu Yang tossed Lil Guai to Chu Na, and everything was settled. As for Qian Aoshue, she knew she was no match for him. Plus, Lil Guai was also temporarily extinguished. He directly descended from wall-facing peak and returned to Divine Command Peak. He realized that everyone who saw him had a strange look in their eyes. Some were filled with respect, some with worship, some with fear, some with mockery. There were all kinds of looks. The East Arrival Pavilion came in handy at this time. Chu Yang gathered everyone in the East Arrival Pavilion, and after asking them once, he had a rough idea. Sui Yun Fu, the goat, was flustered and exasperated by Chu Yang. After descending from wall-facing peak, he bleated at Divine Command Peak. Chu Yang, the number 1 of Divine Command Peak, ganged up on Divine Command Peak. Long Feast, the sloppy king, followed Sui Yun Fu and also bleated brainlessly at Sky Array Peak. Chu Yang, the number 1 of Divine Command Peak, ganged up on Sky Array Peak. Du Guangbo let out a bleating sound. Next, Heavenly Thunder Peak, Misty Peak, and the other 10 outer mountain peaks all began to emulate Sui Yun Fu's bleating. Soon, a huge force was formed, and the 5 inner mountain peaks and the 10 outer mountain peaks of the 5 Elements sect all began to bleat. In the end, it became Chu Yang, the number 1 of 5 Elements sect, ganged up on the 15 peaks. It was impossible that no one had added fuel to the fire. As for who they were thinking, Chu Yang had no idea. "Damned goat, I will definitely chop you up one day and roast you with mutton skewers and drink mutton giblets soup." Chu Yang's face was frosty. Junior brother Chu Renxian's words came to an abrupt end. Chu Yang was very shocking, but there were many hidden dragons and crouching tigers in the 5 Elements sect. However, with Chu Yang's current position, he was already too far behind to catch up. Their positions were different and their perspectives were also different. His suggestion would probably have the opposite effect. Also, in just a few days' time, when he saw Chu Yang again, he realized that Chu Yang's cultivation had deepened by a lot. It was truly unimaginable that he could advance at such a rapid pace. "Why are you so angry?" Sui Yun Fu's voice came from the void. Soon, Sui Yun Fu appeared before Chu Yang while stroking his goatee. There were too many people paying attention to Chu Yang now. The moment he faced the wall peak, the news spread out immediately. Soon, many five-element sect disciples rushed to the Divine Command Peak. The number one person of the Five Elements sect had beaten up the 15 peaks in a group. Such words attracted too much hatred. Even the disciples of the Five Elements sect such as Chu Yang, who did not intend to challenge, hurried to the Divine Command Peak to watch the show. Sui Yunfu was the peak master of the Divine Command Peak. Of course, he knew that Chu Yang had left the mountain immediately. Goat, what do you think? Chu Yang was not in a good mood, but it was useless to pursue the matter. He was now thinking about how to get some compensation from Sui Yunfu. Humph! Sui Yunfu snorted. Didn't you want to challenge the Five Elements Divine Son? You don't even deserve the title of number one in the Five Elements sect? You don't deserve it. You'd better lose this time and have a good excuse to reject the challenge with the Divine Son. You don't want to be killed by the Divine Son in the end. Goat, you don't have to provoke me. When Chu Yang called him a goat, Chu Rinxian and the others were shocked. Chu Yang was too bold, but the Peak Master was not angry. Although they did not see the scene of Chu Yang and the Five Elements Divine Son's conflict, they could imagine it now. Overall, this is caused by you being stupid and then being used by others. What kind of lousy excuse are you looking for? Chu Yang summed up this matter, and decided that Sui Yang would have to take the blame for this. Sui Yunfu's face was very gloomy. He did not refute. Chu Yang was right. He had been completely used. He had only wanted to use Chu Yang to practice on the Divine Command Peak and suppress Chu Yang's arrogance, but he had been manipulated in the end. Am I wrong? If you can't be the number one in the Five Elements sect, what right do you have to challenge the Divine Son? Chu Yang lowered his eyes and didn't get angry. Sui Yunfu was someone who protected him, not someone who harmed him. Even if he lost his temper, he wouldn't lose his temper at Sui Yunfu. Moreover, from the expression of Sui Yunfu, this goat, he was afraid that he had already been targeted. Uncle. Chapter 498. Sui Yunfu narrowed his eyes. At this moment, Chu Yang was like an unsheathed divine sword, ready to kill. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. He was angry. Chu Yang was angry, but how could he not be angry too? He was not biased in protecting the Divine Command Peak disciples. However, he was being targeted for carrying out his duty. After he felt this from the sect master, his heart turned completely cold. Now that things had turned out this way, it was easy to imagine his situation in the future. It could be said that he and Chu Yang were grasshoppers on the same rope. At this moment, he really hoped that Chu Yang was as he suspected, and that he was the most handsome. Fortunately, even if Chu Yang was not the most handsome, he was definitely not bad. Then let's show them what we're made of. 1. After a moment of silence, Sui Yunfu also spoke coldly. In an instant, the surroundings couldn't help but become extremely cold. Chu Rinxian and the others from the East Arrival Pavilion almost couldn't breathe. Let's go. Almost everyone is here. Two figures shot out like lightning. With Chu Yang and Sui Yunfu's senses, how could they not know the current situation of the Divine Command Peak? At this moment, the Divine Command Peak was bustling with noise. People were jostling shoulder to shoulder, especially at the Divine Command Peak Disciples' martial arena. It was even more crowded, densely packed. The clamor was like a huge cloud of dust that enveloped the entire martial arena. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. When Chu Yang and Sui Yunfu appeared at the center of the martial arena, the crowd couldn't help but fall silent. They all looked at the two of them. The entire place was silent. The two of them were like the sun and moon in the sky, radiant and dazzling. Pop, Sui Yunfu's face was cold. He took a step forward, and circles of ripples appeared in the air. Core disciples can challenge as they wish, but if a true disciple interferes, don't blame me for being ruthless. Simple and direct. His voice was clear, oppressive, vast, and heavy. It formed visible ripples that rippled outwards, instantly transmitting to the entire five-element sect. The echoes reverberated back, resounding in the ears of the crowd, causing the entire place to fall silent. Swoosh! As soon as Sui Yunfu's voice fell, the unkempt Long Fij and the tall and mighty Du Guangbua immediately arrived. When they saw that Chu Yang did not quarrel with Sui Yunfu, they were somewhat surprised. However, they soon understood. Chu Yang was not a fool. He naturally knew who was good to him and who was bad to him. Senior brother. A middle-aged woman leisurely walked out from the void. She looked like a middle-aged woman, but her charm was boundless. She immediately captured the attention of many people. Behind her were all female disciples. Each of them was as beautiful as a flower, but they had different temperaments and styles. Some were as passionate as the peony, some were as pure as the lotus, and some were as cold and arrogant as the plum blossoms. It could be said that 100 flowers vied for beauty. Suddenly, the whole world brightened up, and there was an additional enticing fragrance. Lotus Flower Peak is here. The female disciples of Lotus Flower Peak are truly more beautiful than flowers. That goes without saying. Whoever can gain the favor of the Lotus Flower Peak's peak leader is truly blessed. He will definitely be able to marry a beautiful woman. When the many disciples of the five-element sect saw the female disciples of the Lotus Flower Peak, they almost forgot everything as they stared at the female disciples. Greetings to Martial Uncle Sui. Greetings to Martial Uncle Long. Greetings to Martial Uncle Du. The female disciples of the Lotus Flower Peak bowed to Sui Yunfu, Long Fis, and Du Guangbua. The three of them nodded. Chu Yang could tell that the Lotus Flower Peak was on good terms with the Divine Command Peak, the Sky Array Peak, and the Thousand Sword Peak. Junior sister. After exchanging a few pleasantries with the Lotus Flower Peak's peak leader, Sui Yunfu immediately beckoned to Chu Yang and said, "This is your Martial Aunt Lung?" Chu Yang stepped forward and bowed. Disciple Chu Yang greets Martial Aunt Lung. The Lotus Flower Peak leader, Lung Lingdai, couldn't help but size him up a few times. She gently smiled and said, "So you are Chu Yang. On the surface, you don't look very naughty." Naughty? Chu Yang thought to himself. Her choice of words was really gentle. Junior sisterling, is it just naughty? Chapter 499. The voice continued, "Brother Sui, since you're so confident in Chu Yang, why don't we add a wager to liven things up?" A middle-aged man, dressed in white and holding a folding fan in his hand, floated over from the direction of the five inner peaks like a white cloud, arriving in an instant. The crowd immediately recognized this person's identity. It's the Guardian Elder of Fire Element Peak, Elder Su Qingyan. Guardian Elder of Fire Element Peak. Just add a wager. His words were light and his expression was playful. Chu Yang narrowed his eyes and thought, they've indeed categorized Uncle Goat as their enemy. That's right, it's better to add a wager. Another voice was heard and arrived in the blink of an eye. This person had a fair complexion and was surrounded by a faint white mist. He also held a folding fan in his hand and looked refined. A group of disciples followed behind him. He slowly walked towards Sui Yunfu and suddenly closed his folding fan with a snap. He laughed and said, "Brother Sui, if you're afraid or have no confidence in Chu Yang, you can also refuse. We naturally won't mind. Wu Peak is here too. That's Peak Master Yu of Wu Peak." This middle-aged man who seemed to be shrouded in mist was the Peak Master of Mist Peak, Yu Jiarong. Just livening things up. Brother Sui, you shouldn't feel pressured, right? Haha. The Fire Element Peak's Peak Masters, Song Yangyan and Water Element Peak Masters, laughed loudly as they walked over together. Behind them were their disciples. Brother Sui, you don't mind if I join in the fun, right? Mu Hongyi, the Peak Master of Medicine Peak, and Yu Jingfu, the Peak Master of Sky Thunder Peak, had also arrived with their disciples. The 10 outer peaks, Medicine Peak, Sky Thunder Peak, Wu Peak, and the 5 inner peaks, Water Element Peak and Fire Element Peak, had already made their stance clear. They stood opposite Sui Yunfu and Chu Yang. With so many of them gathered in one place, their aura instantly became extremely powerful and oppressive. Sui Yunfu's pupils shrank. The attitude of the 5 elements sect master had a great impact on the other peak masters. Previously, only Fire Element Peak and Water Element Peak jumped out. Now, 3 more peaks jumped out. There were also the guardian elders of the various peaks. Perhaps this was not all. Sure enough, it was just as Sui Yunfu had expected. Apart from the Wood Element Peak, all the other 5 inner peaks stood together with Song Yangyan's group, and it was the same for the 10 outer peaks, Blazing Flame Peak, Giant Peak, and White Tiger Peak. It was as if the wheels of history were rolling over. Sui Yunfu felt as if he was a mantis trying to stop a chariot. He could vaguely feel a great pressure, as if an ancient demonic mountain was approaching, wanting to suppress his soul and crush him into pieces. He swept his gaze around and saw the dense crowd of disciples behind Song Yangyan and the others. His worry deepened. These disciples all had extraordinary aptitude. They were all geniuses nurtured by Song Yangyan and the others. Their foundations were solid, and they had been through hundreds of battles. They were rich in experience, and there were even a few who were about to break through to the soul wheel realm. The lowest cultivation was at least at the 5th level of the ascending soul realm. The cultivation of core disciples was generally in the 8th or 9th level of the Chi soul realm to the 5th level of the ascending soul realm. The cultivation of true disciples was in the 5th level of the ascending soul realm to the 2nd level of the soul wheel realm. However, this was not a hard and fast rule, so there were many core disciples in the 8th or 9th level of the ascending soul realm. With the strength of the disciples Song Yangyan and the others brought, how could they be core disciples? It could be said that they were all true disciples. Chu Yang was extraordinary, but at the 8th level of the ascending soul realm, Sui Yunfu did not think that Chu Yang could be their match now. He naturally did not understand Chu Yang's strength. Chapter 500. Sui Yunfu's pupils shrunk. How could he not know what these people were up to? Everyone's target? Feeling the pressure from Song Yangyan, Lu Tianrui, Mu Hongyi and the others, Chu Yang could not help but narrow his eyes. A dangerous glint flickered in his eyes. Song Yangyan, Lu Tianrui, and the others could not tolerate Chu Yang. They had gathered so many people to trample Chu Yang to death. What kind of existence was the 5 elements' divine child? How could he allow a thorn like Chu Yang to provoke him? Brother Su, Brother Song, Brother Lu, and Brother Mu, what do you want to bet? Sui Yunfu's heart was gloomy, but he did not show it on his face. His face was full of smiles, as if there was no conflict with them. It was a harmonious scene. Pa! The Fire Element Peak's guardian elder opened his fan and stepped out. He flipped his hand and took out a crystal ball. The crystal ball flew into the air, and immediately turned into a prison. A dragon-headed, eagle-bodied demonic beast appeared and roared furiously. Brother Sui, I'll bet this dragon eagle with you. If your disciple loses to my disciple, you'll tame this dragon eagle for me. If your disciple wins, I'll lose this dragon eagle to you. What do you think? The dragon eagle was an extraordinary demonic beast, not inferior to the golden-winged roc. It was also very difficult to tame. Eagles were unruly and extremely difficult to tame. Moreover, they had the blood of dragons, which made them even more noble and difficult to tame. Even if Divine Command Peak was good at taming demonic beasts, it would take Sui Yunfu a lot of effort to tame this dragon eagle. Okay, I'll bet with you. Sui Yunfu's mood was very gloomy. Brother Long, I'll bet with you too. Long Feast was also targeted. The Peak Master of Wu Peak, Yu Jiarong, was also holding a folding fan in his hand. At this moment, he opened it with a snap. There was a painting of fog and rain on it. It looked like a world of fog and rain. Brother Long, my misty rain fan is about to be completed, but it still lacks a few things, such as setting up a formation. I'll bet with you on this misty rain fan. If Brother Long's disciple wins, this misty rain fan will be yours. But if he loses, I'll have to trouble Brother Long with the rest of the misty rain fan. He tossed the fan into the air. Immediately, a misty white fog enveloped the fan, making it impossible to see through it. If one were to be enveloped by it, they would definitely lose their sense of direction and wouldn't know where they were. The fine raindrops fell like sharp swords, their power astonishing. Long Feast's face turned gloomy. The fog and rain painting seemed to be an independent space. Yu Jiarong made it sound so simple, but who knew how many treasures and complex arrays were needed to complete it? Not to mention anything else, he didn't even have the treasures he needed. Brother Du, how about I use this divine sword to bet against your 1,000-sword illustration? Du Guangbo didn't dodge either. The peak master of the fire element peak, Song Yangyan, chose Du Guangbo. He took out a sword, and with a bang, an astonishing flame spurted out from the sword. Crackling sounds could be heard as it burned and distorted the space around it. This is the 1,000-flame sword. I obtained it from a secret place. Its rank is above the spirit stage. How about we bet against your 1,000-sword illustration? Boom. As soon as Song Yangyan finished speaking, the disciples of the Five Elements sect went into an uproar. Who didn't know that the 1,000-sword illustration was Du Guangbo's treasure? However, the 1,000-flames sword that Song Yangyan took out was also astonishing. It was actually at the spirit stage. After the soul reincarnation stage was the spirit stage. The sect master of the Five Elements sect was only at the first level of the spirit stage. From this, it could be seen how confident Song Yangyan was that he would definitely win. No matter if it was the guardian elder of the fire element peak, peak master of the mist peak, Yu Jiarong or Song Yangyan, the three of them all believed that their side would definitely win. As soon as this was announced, the disciples of the Five Elements sect went into an even greater uproar. They were all guessing whether Long Feast and Du Guangbo would dare to bet or not. Most of them believed that Long Feast and Du Guangbo would definitely endure the humiliation and wouldn't dare to bet. Chapter 501. Sui Yunfu, Long Feisai, and Du Guangbo were oppressed by Song Yangyan and the rest, and no one spoke up for them. The commotion among the Five Elements sect disciples had long stopped, and the entire place was silent. You all think you've got me? Chu Yang felt a chill in his heart. During this period of time, he had scanned all the disciples behind Song Yangyan and the rest, and none of them were in the soul wheel realm. He couldn't help but feel relieved. With his strength, an ordinary 9th-level ascending soul realm wouldn't be a problem, but the key was that the Five Elements sect had gathered together. Among the core disciples, Song Yangyan and the rest had already reached the 8th or 9th level of the ascending soul realm. How could they be ordinary? Like him, there might be someone who could fight a soul wheel realm cultivator, so he didn't have the confidence to win. However, as Sui Yunfu said, among these people, if he couldn't become the strongest person in the Five Elements sect and beat up the 15 peaks, then he wouldn't need to think about becoming the 5-element divine son. Of course, Chu Yang felt that his chances of winning were higher, and immediately sent a voice transmission. Uncle Sloppy, Uncle Bobo, since the treasure is here, hurry up and accept it, then you won't be afraid of it flying away. Also, remember, after this, we'll split it 50-50. Uncle Sloppy, Uncle Bobo, what kind of names were these? Long Feisai and Du Guangbo were furious, but after hearing Chu Yang's tone, they couldn't help but be moved. They had seen Chu Yang's shocking strength on the wall-facing peak, and they suspected that Chu Yang, this bastard, was very likely to be the most handsome. Yu Jiarong, I'll bet with you. Brother Song, I'll bet with you too. Long Faceai and Du Guangbo both said in unison, and their voices were loud and clear, resounding throughout the entire place. The two were already angry, and after hearing Chu Yang's voice transmission, they didn't hesitate anymore. Boom! Their voices resounded, and the 5-element sect disciples were also shocked at this time. Bet, they actually bet. This is amazing. Who knows, the peak masters might become enemies in the future. This bet is too big, too shocking. Who said it isn't? But Peak Master Long of the Sky Array Peak and Peak Master Du of the 1,000-Sword Peak, are they sure there's nothing wrong with their heads? Who knows? That Chu Yang looks extraordinary, but I think he will definitely lose. While the 5-element sect's disciples were discussing, on the other side of the void, Jin Duo, who had transformed into a burly man, was scratching his ears and cheeks like a big monkey. He was extremely anxious and frequently sent a voice transmission to Chao Ju, "Boss, hurry up and take action. Junior Marshal Brother Chu knows how to play the pig to eat the tiger. Even if Boss doesn't want the treasure, I want it." Such a huge matter had alarmed the entire 5-element sect. How could Jin Duo and the others not come? The Coiling Dragon Martial Institution and the East Arrival Pavilion were all present as well. Bullshit, I don't understand. Chao Ju scolded. Don't you know that I have a stupid father? He's suppressing me to death. I'm trying my best to break free. Cut the crap. He was really anxious now, and even wanted to cry but had no tears. How did he end up with such a father who didn't know how to play the pig to eat the tiger? You have your misgivings, you're neutral, why are you stopping me from picking up treasures? Humph. After a cold snort, there was a rumbling sound. A huge copper cauldron dozens of feet tall suddenly flew up into the sky. There were 9 doors on the cauldron's walls, and 9 fire dragons were distributed on them. The dragon heads were facing the bottom of the cauldron. It was obvious that the dragons were spitting fire to provide the cauldron with a fire source. Medicine Peak's Peak Master, Mu Hongyi, pointed at the huge cauldron with his fair and slender fingers. Brother Sui, Brother Long, Brother Du, this is the 9-dragon fire cauldron. You should know your stuff. Use this cauldron to bet all your merits in the sect. If you lose, all your merits in the 5 elements sect will belong to me. If the 3 of them lost all their merits, what were they? Chu Yang's fierce eyes immediately fell on Mu Hongyi. Mu Hongyi was even more despicable than Song Yangyan. He was taking drastic measures to deprive Sui Yunfu and the others of their merits in the 5 elements sect. It was obvious that he was preparing to kill Sui Yunfu and the others. Sui Yunfu and the others' faces were terrifyingly gloomy. How could they not understand Mu Hongyi's intentions? That stupid cauldron of yours isn't worth shit. Long Fija's temper was the most explosive. He pointed at Mu Hongyi and said, "Take out your merits and bring 2 more people to bet. Whoever wants to kill me, I'll kill them. Whoever wants to kill me, I'll kill them." Chapter 502. Since that's the case, count me in. The Peak Master of Raging Fire Peak stood out. Count me in as well. The Peak Master of Heavenly Thunder Peak, Yu Jingfu, also stood out. In an instant, the situation was clear. Chu Yang was at a disadvantage. These idiots will definitely cry. I'm afraid they won't even be able to cry. How pitiful. Jin Duo saw Yu Jingfu and the others stand out and sneered in his heart. He felt that they were too easy to trick. At the same time, he was secretly anxious. His boss Chao Ju still hadn't broken free. He himself wanted to directly jump out. "Marshal Uncle Yu, do you dare to bet with me? Violent Holy Sun." Jin Duo saw this and screamed in his heart. He looked at Chao Ju again and couldn't help but feel even more anxious. The Violent Holy Sun had come out to pick up treasures for free. The 2 of them usually thought that they were the best. If they didn't get anything in the end, it would be a joke. Buzz. The moment the Saint of Violence stepped out, Song Yongyan, Yu Jingfu, and the others were clearly enraged. A great pressure pressed down, causing the Saint of Violence's sleeves to flutter. The sleeves without an arm were also rattling incessantly. "Martial Uncle Yu, I'll bet my life on your heavenly Thunder Peak's lightning pool. How about it?" Boom. His words were shocking, and the entire crowd could not help but burst into an uproar. The Saint of Violence was actually gambling with his life. However, the heavenly Thunder Peak's lightning pool was incomparably precious. The violent Holy Sun cultivated beast essence. The power of thunder was a great deterrent to demonic beasts. If he could obtain the violent Holy Sun's beast essence, he would be able to control it more easily. The violent Holy Sun didn't have much intention of standing on Chu Yang's side. Although he was biased towards Chu Yang, his true purpose was indeed to gamble. The lightning pool was very useful to him. This was a provocation. Song Yongyan and the others' expressions were incomparably ugly. The violent Holy Sun knew their intentions, but he still did this. This was not the most important thing. Saint Child Violence was the Saint Child of the Five Elements sect. His position in the Five Elements sect was transcendent. If he made such a statement, it would cause many disciples of the Five Elements sect to support Chu Yang. "Boss, if you don't make a move, there really won't be any soup to drink." Jean Duo was extremely anxious. Chao Ju's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. He knew that he could reach out and pick up the treasure, but his hands and feet were tied by his father. While the Wood Element Peak's Peak Master was stunned for a few seconds because of the violent Holy Sun, in a moment of carelessness, with a loud bang, Chao Ju finally broke free. He was incomparably carefree as he laughed. "How could I, Chao Ju, be absent from such a grand gambling event?" He looked directly at the Water Element Peak's Peak Lord, Lu Tianrui. "Martial Uncle Lu, you haven't placed your bet yet, right? I'll bet the Azure Dragon Divine Trees visualization diagram on your Lake Martial Spirits visualization diagram. Martial Uncle, do you dare to bet?" Water and wood. Obtaining the visualization diagram of the Lake Martial Spirit would be of great benefit to Chao Ju. However, a visualization diagram of a nature martial spirit like the Lake Martial Spirit was extremely precious. How could one obtain it so easily? This was also the reason why he was so anxious just now. Shwa. Countless gazes were instantly cast toward Chao Ju. Another person had jumped out to stand on Chu Yang's side. Song Yongyan, Lu Tianrui, and the others were even more embarrassed. With this, the support of the Five Elements sect would decrease, and the situation would become even worse. The Five Elements sect might really be divided into two factions, which was completely different from what they had imagined. They soon glanced at Chao Ju's father, the Wood Element Peak's Peak Master, Chao Rong. At this moment, Chao Rong was speechless, facing the questioning gazes of Song Yongyan and the others. He even had the urge to beat Chao Ju to death. "Ha ha!" Chao Ju burst out laughing. "Don't look at my father. Can't you see his dark face? That idiot of his knows nothing." The crowd was speechless. Chao Ju dared to call his father an idiot in front of everyone. Chao Ju did not take it seriously. He immediately challenged Lu Tianrui. "Martial Uncle Lu, let me ask you, do you dare to bet?" Chapter 503. Everyone's gaze fell on the Wood Element Peak's Peak Master, Chao Rong's face. Everyone could see the dark expression on Chao Rong's face. The veins on his face were pulsating as if thunder was about to erupt at any moment. However, Song Yongyan, Lu Tianrui, Mu Hongyi, and the others actually pressured him in such a blatant manner, even threatening him. Chao Rong couldn't help but be enraged. "Do you think I'm a pushover?" Humph. A cold snort landed heavily on everyone's hearts. Chao Rong's cold gaze met Lu Tianrui's and the others' gazes. His voice was cold as ice. "Ju Er's opinion is my opinion." Boom. The Five Elements sect's disciples seemed to have exploded. The wood element Peak's peak master actually stood on Chu Yang's side. However, they immediately calmed down because the atmosphere was too stifling. Song Yangyan, Lu Tianrui, Mu Hongyi, and the others' expressions were even uglier. It was as if they had eaten a fly, or as if someone had hit the back of their head heavily. Chao Ju was the wood element Peak's peak master, one of the 5 inner peaks. Now that he stood out, the meaning was completely different because his weight was extremely heavy. However, everything was not over yet. Chao Rong said to Lu Tianrui, "Brother Lu, since you're so lively, I'll also make a bet with you. You bet on your position as the water element Peak's peak master. If your disciple loses to Brother Sui's disciple, please give your position as the water element Peak's peak master to Brother Morong. If I lose, I'll abdicate my position as the wood element Peak's peak master." Chu Yang didn't know who this Brother Morong that Chao Rong mentioned was, but he could only sigh in amazement. Sure enough, the older the ginger, the spicier. He directly took the firewood from under the cauldron, directly removing one from Song Yangyan's and Lu Tianrui's side. Sui Yunfu, Long Fis, and Du Guangbo were overjoyed. They never thought that Chu Yang would not only be on good terms with the saint child of violence, but even be on good terms with Chao Ju. Chao Rong's declaration was like injecting a powerful injection into their hearts. Their eyes brightened. "All right, Brother Chao, I'll bet with you." Lu Tianrui's face was so gloomy that water could drip from it. At this time, the atmosphere of the scene became even more oppressive. It was so oppressive that many of the 5 element sect's disciples almost couldn't breathe. They couldn't help but have such a question in their hearts. Was the 5 element sect going to split? It had to be said that the situation was already out of Song Yangyan, Mu Hongyi, and the others' control. They had overestimated their strength. "Uncle Goat, may I know the name of the peak master of Medicine Peak?" Amidst the silence, a voice suddenly rang out, instantly drawing everyone's attention. Chu Yang. The culprit, the source of the disaster, the audacious Chu Yang. The incomparably arrogant Chu Yang who swore an oath to fight the 5 elements divine child to the death in half a year. The number 1 disciple of the 5 elements sect, who had ganged up on Chu Yang of the 15 peaks. How could everyone present not know Chu Yang? Sui Yunfu was stunned by Chu Yang's sudden question, but he soon understood Chu Yang's intention. The rafters that stuck out would rot first, and whoever jumped happily would be killed first. This kid really has a temper. Chu Yang was targeting the peak master of Medicine Peak, Mu Hongyi. Mu Hongyi's move just now, wanting to take away Sui Yunfu and the other two's contributions to the 5 element sect through the bet, and wanting to kill Sui Yunfu and the other two, had completely infuriated Chu Yang. Hee. Jean Duodua looked at the silent crowd and couldn't help but secretly laugh in his heart. Junior brother Chu is starting to cheat people. He's starting to cheat people crazily. He was sure that if Mu Hongyi dared to say yes, he would definitely be cheated so badly that he would want to return to his mother's womb. Junior brother Chu is going crazy again. Chao Ju could only laugh in his heart. Chu Yang had even roasted the 5 elements divine child. What was a mere Mu Hongyi? The violent saint was also smiling bitterly at this moment. Mu Hongyi was in trouble. Chapter 504. This is your uncle Master Mu Hongyi. Sui Yunfu spoke up. It was only then that he realized that Chu Yang didn't even know Mu Hongyi. He couldn't help but fall into a trance. Chu Yang had only entered the 5 elements sect for a short period of time. In fact, it had only been 1 or 2 months. However, Chu Yang had already created such a big disturbance in this 1 or 2 months. So it's Uncle Master Mu. Chu Yang grinned as if a flower had bloomed on his face. He bowed to Mu Hongyi. Disciple Chu Yang greets Uncle Master Mu. Mu Hongyi's face was gloomy. His veins were throbbing and his face was almost distorted. There were so many people present, but Chu Yang chose him out of all the people present. Did he think that he was easy to bully and wanted to bully him? Uncle Master Mu, you guys are so lively. I'll join in the fun too. Chu Yang began to babble nonsense. I observed martial Uncle Mu, and noticed that there seemed to be fog lingering around your body. You're certainly not an ordinary person. Then, I observed martial Uncle Mu's facial features. You have a full forehead, and it's obvious that you're rich and noble. Your eyes are wise and far-sighted, and your wisdom reaches the heavens. I, Chu Yang, wish to make a bet with martial Uncle Mu. Martial Uncle Mu, do you dare? No one thought that Chu Yang's nonsense was flattery. Instead, he was mocking him. Old fool, which eye of yours sees that I'm about to be unlucky enough to enter the coffin and die? I suspect that you're blind and brain damaged. However, no one understood where Chu Yang's confidence and courage came from. Could it be that Chu Yang could really beat up the 15 peaks of the 5-element sect? What do you want to bet? Mu Hongyi's killing intent surged. He gritted his teeth so hard that they almost made cracking sounds. Uncle Master Mu, how about we bet something big and ruthless? After Chu Yang finished speaking, he directly pointed at one of Mu Hongyi's legs. I'll bet one of Uncle Master Mu's legs. Boom. Everyone's mind was blown. So far, Chu Yang's gamble was the most outrageous. He actually planned to cripple Mu Hongyi. The peak master of the wood element peak, Chao Rong, couldn't help but glance at Chu Yang at this moment. Clearly, he was also very surprised. Sui Yunfu, Long Fij, and Du Guangbo were also shocked. If Mu Hongyi was also crippled, then Song Yongyan and Lu Tianrui's side would be in deep trouble. What are you betting on? Chu Yang smiled and continued to flatter her. Martial Uncle Mu really has a pair of discerning eyes. You can see that I'm a poor wretch at first glance. So, I can only gamble on my legs and arms. He paused for a moment, then said, How about this, Uncle Master Mu? If I win, Uncle Master Mu, you'll lose one leg. If I lose, I'll lose both legs to Uncle Master Mu. If that's not enough, I'll add 2 more arms. After all, Uncle Master Mu, your legs are more precious. So, I can understand if you don't want to gamble. He was calm and collected, and he was laughing casually. However, every word that came out of Chu Yang's mouth made people shocked. When they connected together, it was earth-shattering. Betting 4 limbs on one of Medicine Peak Master Mu Hongyi's legs was too crazy. If Chu Yang lost, he would become a complete cripple. He would neither live nor die. If Mu Hongyi still didn't dare to gamble, then he would be completely underestimated. The more everyone thought about it, the more shocked they became. Chu Yang was basically forcing Mu Hongyi to gamble with him, but how could he be so sure that he would win? All right, I'll gamble with you. Mu Hongyi was extremely furious, but he definitely hadn't lost his mind completely. Chopping off Chu Yang's limbs and crippling Chu Yang wasn't just the result he wanted. It was also the result that Song Yongyan and Lu Tianrui wanted. Uncle Master Mu is indeed a decisive person. You're very straightforward. Chu Yang smiled and flattered. Then, with a whoosh, he landed on the arena and laughed loudly. Divine Command Peaks No. 1, Okun's 15 peaks, Chu Yang is here. Who dares to come up and die first? Chapter 505. Arrogant. A disdainful voice came from behind the peak master of Wu Peak. When everyone looked over, a tall and slender young man walked out. His body was well proportioned, and his exposed skin was bronze in color. However, the skin on his face was abnormally white and slightly translucent, as if there was a thin layer of frost covering it. Chu Yang glanced over. The first person who jumped out didn't seem to be much. He was only in the 5th level of the ascending soul realm. Mu Hongyi is underestimating himself too much for him to be the vanguard. He couldn't help but narrow his eyes. At this moment, a hint of joy finally appeared on Mu Hongyi's gloomy face. Obviously, he was very happy that a disciple took the initiative to stand up for him. Zhang Yuanlin, you're not bad. You've only fought with your junior brother Chu before, so don't beat him too hard. Remember, you can beat him harder and let your junior brother Chu know how powerful you are. However, don't beat him until he's crippled. You have to leave some face for your martial uncle Sui. Yes, Peak Master. I'll definitely go easy on him later and give some face to martial uncle Sui. Zhang Yuanlin was overjoyed. He immediately cupped his fists towards the disciples behind Song Yangyan and the others and said, Senior brothers and sisters, Zhang Yuanlin of Wu Peak will go first and get the first prize. He was very proud. Such a prize was given out for free. He was surprised that no one fought with him for it. Chu Yang was only in the 6th or 7th level of the Qi Soul realm. He didn't care at all. Whoosh! Zhang Yuanlin also flew onto the battle stage and faced Chu Yang from afar. He was excited and couldn't stop smiling. He really felt that he had picked up a great bargain. Junior brother Chu, you're too arrogant. I'll teach you a lesson and you'll be obedient. Zhang Yuanlin was very playful. He knew that Chu Yang had once killed the 1st and 2nd tier ascending soul tier disciples of the Soul Devourer sect, but could Chu Yang overturn the heavens? He could even defeat a 5th tier ascending soul tier. Interesting. Chu Yang smiled and said, Senior martial brother Zhang Yuanlin, there's something wrong with your head. If I beat you up, you probably won't be stupid anymore. Zhang Yuanlin snorted and sneered. Junior brother, kneel down and apologize immediately. Otherwise, it won't be good if you ask for trouble. Senior brother Zhang, there's something wrong with your head. This is not a problem. Chu Yang reminded him. I can remind you not to think too much about it. It's not too late for you to leave now. I promise you, there's no exaggeration in my words. They're full of goodwill. You are indeed so arrogant that you don't know how strong you are. Zhang Yuanlin laughed sinisterly. Junior brother, how many moves do you want to lose? I can fulfill your wish. Chu Yang smiled. Then, he raised a finger. One move? Zhang Yuanlin laughed in anger. Chu Yang raising a finger naturally meant that he wanted to defeat him in one move, not that he could defeat Chu Yang in one move. He laughed loudly, his killing intent boiling, and strode towards Chu Yang. Defeating you in one move is not difficult. Later, I'm just afraid that I'll accidentally kill you. Junior brother Chu, why don't we have a battle of life and death? Tisk, you're practically hanging yourself. You're tired of living. Jin Duo was directly speechless. Chu Yang said a lot of truth, but Zhang Yuanlin actually didn't believe a single word. However, Chu Yang's skill of pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger was almost perfect, so this was understandable. But Zhang Yuanlin actually proposed a battle of life and death with Chu Yang, wanting to kill Chu Yang. This was really hopeless. Even if you wanted to die, you didn't want to die like this. Senior martial brother Zhang, are you serious? Chu Yang's smile suddenly became cold. What do you think? Then I agree. Chu Yang's eyes were slightly cold. Senior martial brother Zhang, you can make your move. Junior brother Chu, you raised a finger just now, so I can only defeat you in one move, so the process will be very fast. You have to pay attention, and don't say that I'm warning you. Zhang Yuanlin was at first angry at Chu Yang's arrogance, but then he was delighted. The more arrogant Chu Yang was, the greater the benefits he would get from killing Chu Yang. He laughed loudly and immediately made his move. He didn't use soul pressure because it would be a waste of energy. Chu Yang wasn't afraid of the soul pressure of an ascending soul tier. He knew very well. He shot out a palm and there was a rumbling sound. Instantly, his true origin surged, forming a huge wave. It was like a solid wave, as if it was real. One could feel water vapor and even smell the smell of the sea from it. Chapter 506. Great! Mu Hongyi couldn't help but applaud. He laughed and said, as expected of a disciple of Wu Peak. That wave palm strike is as pure as fire. The huge waves surged over with the force of toppling mountains and overturning seas. They submerged Chu Yang in an instant. Chu Yang raised his finger and pointed forward. There was no movement, but the huge wave that surged over didn't move at all. It was like a painting, and the waves in the painting were very realistic. Senior brother Zhang Yuanlin, you seem to have misunderstood something. When I raised my finger, I didn't say one move. I said that I can crush you with one finger. Chu Yang paused. Senior brother, do you believe me now? Such words caused everyone's pupils to shrink. How did Chu Yang do it? Many of the 5 Elements sect's disciples even felt that it was a miracle. However, it wasn't hard for the peak masters to understand, especially Long Faceeye, who was proficient in formations. This was just an application of force. Chu Yang's force couldn't stabilize the void, but it was easy for him to stabilize Zhang Yuanlin's True Yuan. Chu Yang had won just now. If he made a move, Zhang Yuanlin would be a dead man. Zhang Yuanlin was also shocked. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead as if he had just walked through the gates of hell. Of course, he knew Chu Yang's method. This was the intent realm, which was the force that Long Faceeye understood. Uncle Master Mu, can you be more serious? I'm betting on one of your legs. Chu Yang didn't bother with Zhang Yuanlin anymore. He said directly to Mu Hongyi, this is just an ant. I can crush it to death with just one finger. Martial Uncle Mu, you really don't have any background. Or do you think you have too many legs and want to chop one off? Chu Yang could win, but he deliberately didn't. What did he mean? Face slapping. The disciples of the 5 Elements sect immediately understood what was going on. Chu Yang was going to ruthlessly slap Mu Hongyi's face. Let's see if Mu Hongyi would still be able to jump up and down after being slapped until his teeth were all knocked out. This was the greatest contempt for Mu Hongyi and the others, as well as the greatest provocation. Chu Yang could not win, so the meaning behind his words was very clear. You guys underestimated me and made a mistake. It's fine, I'll give you a chance. What can you do? Show me everything you've got. I'll beat you until you're convinced, and you'll all go home and cry for your parents. Everyone was stunned. The stake was Chu Yang's 4 limbs, but he was actually so casual and capricious. The faces of Song Yangyan, Lu Tianrui, Mu Hongyi, Yu Jingfu, Su Qingyan, and the others suddenly turned incomparably gloomy. In a daze, their faces were already swollen as if they had been stung by a hornet. Their killing intent surged like a tidal wave. It was only the beginning, but they were already slapped in the face by Chu Yang, causing their ears to ring. Brat, how dare you? Mu Hongyi glared fiercely at Zhang Yuanlin, but there was no need for that. Chu Yang pointed a finger at the wave, and Zhang Yuanlin's blood rushed to his face. His expression immediately turned vicious, and his gloomy face flushed red, as if blood was about to drip out. Chu Yang, have you won? Zhang Yuanlin's voice was very cold. Isn't it just a concept? You think you know it? You're celebrating too early. You're already a dead man. There are 3 reasons for your death. Let me tell you the reasons. Chu Yang said coldly, you were the first to jump out, so you're dead. That's number 1. Number 2. Chu Yang extended a second finger. I've already spared your life just now. Number 3, you're still stubborn. Even death can't wipe out your crimes. You deserve to die too. You deserve to die. Chu Yang pointed out all of Zhang Yuanlin's crimes as if he was judging him. Then, he sentenced Zhang Yuanlin to death. Everyone's hearts couldn't help but tremble violently. Domineering, too domineering. Chapter 507. What a sharp tongue. You're making me feel like I deserve to die. Zhang Yuanlin roared, Chu Yang, I'd like to see how capable you are to be so presumptuous. Boom. The airwaves around Zhang Yuanlin's body exploded. It was as if a huge rock had fallen from the sky. Zhang Yuanlin's hand stirred up waves of water that filled the sky. He moved as if a huge wave was surging towards Chu Yang. The move didn't change, it was still the same palm technique as before. The only difference was that the waves were more turbulent, and at the same time, there was a great momentum. The waves formed by true origin seemed to have merged with the void, as if the void was a vast ocean. Palm intent, this was the concept of Zhang Yuanlin's continuous waves. The scene was shocking, and it was even more spectacular. Facing such a blow, Chu Yang shrugged his shoulders and spread his hands helplessly at the disciples behind Song Yangyan and Lu Tianrui. Senior brothers and sisters, I've already done my best. There's really no other way. You can't stop someone who wants to die. I hope you won't make things difficult for me later. I hope you can all be smarter. What was going on? Facing such a shocking attack from Zhang Yuanlin, he didn't focus on dealing with it. Instead, he shrugged and spread his hands. Was there something wrong with his head? Many people were shocked. They had never seen such an arrogant person. Sui Yunfu and the other two's eyelids couldn't help but twitch. They were almost shouting in their hearts, I say, ancestor, can't you stop? You haven't even dealt with the one in front of you, and you're already provoking a group of people. Jean Duoduo's judgment was that Chu Yang's act of pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger would definitely come to an abrupt end. He had completely withdrawn from such a great career of pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. Of course, Chao Ju didn't care at all. Chu Yang was the most handsome person in the world. Even the 5 elements divine child was roasted by Chu Yang. Who was this Zhang Yuanlin in front of him? He was just sympathizing. If the disciples of Fire Element Peak and Water Element Peak were all idiots like Zhang Yuanlin, they would probably be beaten to death by Chu Yang. To be honest, Chu Yang had indeed held back. Others saw Chu Yang's savagery, but he saw Chu Yang's kindness. He seemed to be provoking Song Yangyan, Mu Hongyi, and the others, but Chu Yang didn't need to go through so much trouble to kill them with a single palm strike. Silence spoke louder than words. The waves surged and surged continuously. The sound of the waves rumbled. Chu Yang stretched out his finger when he saw that the waves were about to reach his body. Then, he gently touched the waves, and a magical scene appeared once again. Boom! Zhang Yuanlin's continuous waves and the concept of rolling waves were like a balloon that was pierced by a needle and instantly exploded. The waves formed by true essence were like water in a balloon, splashing in all directions, forming a curtain of rain. A fierce wind blew, causing Chu Yang's sleeves to flutter. For a moment, in everyone's eyes, he was like a god in the wind, bright and imposing. The entire place fell silent. Then, an uproar broke out. He blocked it. He really blocked it. He really blocked it with just one finger, and what's more, he was dealing with such an astonishing concept. This is unbelievable. How did he do it? The Crooked Blade Immortal and the others from the East Arrival Pavilion were all stunned. Those from the Coiling Dragon Martial Institution, like Li Hao, Zhang Tian, Ji Jingqing, and the others, were also shocked. They said in their hearts, Junior Brother Chu is even more monstrous. This wasn't strange. Chu Yang could even block the powerful concept formed by Jean Duoduo's mountain's martial spirit. This was nothing. Looking at Jean Duoduo, it was clear. His face was full of contempt and disdain. In his opinion, it would be difficult for Zhang Yuanlin to force Chu Yang to use his ability. Since your comprehension of the concept is so shocking, then I can only beat you to death with my bare hands. Zhang Yuanlin's self-esteem was like a balloon. With a light prick, it created a storm. He was completely dizzy. Chapter 508. With Zhang Yuanlin like this, whether it was Chao Ju, Jean Duoduo, or the Saint Son of Violence, they could only shake their heads. In particular, Jean Duoduo wanted to cover his eyes. This Zhang Yuanlin was so stupid that he couldn't even bear to look at him. Just as Chu Yang had said, if some people wanted to die, there was nothing you could do to stop them. Zhang Yuanlin took in a deep breath, and his muscles suddenly bulged out from under his skin. His body grew taller and taller. He was already tall and big, and now he was even bigger, reaching a height of 3 feet. His eyes were sunken in and his mouth was bulging. At first glance, his fair face was like that of an ape. He was like a violent ape. At this moment, he beat his chest and roared. An incomparably wild monster energy filled his body and his strength began to rise. 11 dragons of strength. 12 dragons of strength. 13 dragons of strength. Stronger and stronger, bigger and bigger, until it reached 20 dragons of strength. This giant was not the strength of a human, but the strength of a monster beast. Violent Vajra Demon Ape, Ascending Soul Transformation. When Chu Yang had killed Ding Wuji in the space of thunder, Ding Wuji had used the soul essence of a monster beast to display the Ascending Soul Transformation, so he wasn't unfamiliar with it. With the Ascending Soul Transformation combined with the strength of a body cultivator, Zhang Yuanlin's strength had risen to 20 dragons of strength. Little Black, you've met your companion. Little Black had already covered his eyes, unable to look. At this time, Zhang Yuanlin was like an enraged violent Vajra Demon Ape. The Vajra Demon Ape had infinite strength. It was said that it could move mountains and fill seas, chase stars and seize moons. Now, Zhang Yuanlin had used the Ascending Soul Transformation according to the body structure of the Vajra Demon Ape to transform into his current form. Roar, he faced the heavens and roared like a wild beast. Sound waves surged outwards, causing visible ripples to spread outwards. Many people felt pain in their ears, as if they would bleed at any moment. Ascending Soul Transformation, I wonder if I can use it in the Energy Soul realm? Chu Yang suddenly thought. Zhang Yuanlin's body cultivation combined with the Ascending Soul Transformation caused his eyes to brighten. He wasn't too worried. Zhang Yuanlin was an astonishing body cultivator, but his boundary wasn't high. At most his mortal body had the strength of 11 dragons. Rumble! The martial stage began to shake. Zhang Yuanlin roared and ran towards Chu Yang with large strides. He laughed sinisterly and said, Chu Yang, weren't you very proud just now? I'm going to beat you to death now. Dong! While he was sprinting, with every step he took, his aura would suddenly increase by a bit. The concept of billowing waves was also completely combined by him, and he was able to display it. There was also an immense soul pressure pressing down on Chu Yang. This was the soul pressure of a 5th-layer ascending soul realm cultivator. Dong, dong, dong. Zhang Yuanlin's aura became more and more shocking, constantly rising. When it reached its peak, his face was ferocious, and his body seemed even more majestic and tall. His eyes were as red as blood, terrifying to the extreme. When his aura reached its peak, Chu Yang finally moved. His body moved like a dragon. When he took a step forward, he activated the Origin Martial Third Cycle and used the 100,000 Flesh Mountain Art. Shua, Chu Yang instantly appeared in front of Zhang Yuanlin and pointed a finger in the air. In an instant, Zhang Yuanlin's hair stood on end. He raised his head to look. Although it was only a finger, he was shocked to see that the muscles on the finger's arm rippled, and the air above it formed a continuous mountain range that was passing towards that finger. That finger seemed to make the heavens collapse, the world turn upside down, and yin and yang become chaotic. Everything in front of him disappeared, and only that finger remained. Ah! Zhang Yuanlin roared in panic. He raised his arm with all his might and welcomed that finger. His arms suddenly swelled up, becoming even thicker and more muscular. Blood rushed to his arms, tearing his sleeves apart. His blood vessels were as thick as a thumb under the effect of the soul transformation, containing a terrifying strength. Boom! The finger touched his fist, and Zhang Yuanlin's eyes widened. Crackling sounds came from his arm, and then the sound of tut-tut-tut didn't stop. A powerful force directly blasted into his body. His broken bones shot out from his body, and in the blink of an eye, he was pierced like a sieve, riddled with holes. You can make me explode with just a finger? How is this possible? I'm also a body cultivator. Zhang Yuanlin's ape form still didn't collapse, and he asked with shock. Chu Yang said indifferently, I'd better not say it. If I say it, I'm afraid you won't be at peace even as a ghost. Purring. Chapter 509. Zhang Yuanlin was at the 5th level of the Ascending Soul Realm, a body cultivator, and a soul transformation realm cultivator. Yet, he still lost. Chu Yang was only at the 7th level of the Qi Soul Realm. One finger, and he won. It was like a person crushing an ant with one finger. Zhang Yuanlin couldn't be more dead. Everyone was dumbfounded. They couldn't believe it. Junior brother Chu is so impressive. Those girls from the Lotus Peak are looking at him with stars in their eyes. I'm so envious. After Jean Duo regained his strength, he had been focusing on women recently. His main goal was to find a wife. He looked at the group of girls from the Lotus Peak, who were all looking at him with shock and admiration. His mouth twitched. Obviously, with Chu Yang around, it would be harder for him to find a wife. At least, he thought that Chu Yang was definitely the first choice. He was more likely to be the second choice. Bastard Chu, can't you continue to pretend to be a pig to eat a tiger? You really don't know how to be a person. Jean Duo looked at Chu Yang as if he was a god descending from the heavens. That invincible posture and those cool eyes made him feel very jealous. Especially the trace of an evil smile on the corner of his mouth. It was definitely a fatal temptation for women. The corner of his mouth couldn't help but twitch. This junior brother Chu, the saint of violence, shook his head and smiled bitterly. He really didn't know how to evaluate Chu Yang. How long had Chu Yang obtained the 100,000 mountain flesh technique? How could he use it so casually? As expected, he's even more ferocious than my ancestors when it comes to causing trouble. Chao Ju narrowed his eyes. He didn't know what level Chu Yang was at now. Now that Chu Yang was fighting with the 5 Elements god, he wouldn't be surprised at all. Chu Yang looked at the stunned Mu Hongi. Uncle Master Mu, why are you opening your mouth so wide? Don't worry, this is a weak chicken. This battle doesn't count. Uncle Master Mu, send someone better. Don't tell me to send a weak chicken. Boom. The 5 Elements sect disciples immediately burst into loud exclamations. This battle doesn't count. Did I hear wrong? Is he crazy? Oh my god, he's betting on his 2 hands and 2 legs. He doesn't seem to care at all. That's because he was certain that he would win without a doubt. He retaliated against Zhang Yuanlin and the others' confidence, slapping them in the face and impacting their minds. To put it simply, what he meant was, you guys are too bad at winning steadily. Look at my steady wins. Have you guys learned anything? He's trying to humiliate the peak master of Misty Peak to death. Sui Yunfu's eyelids twitched. Chu Yang had gone too far. He reckoned that Mu Hongi was fuming with anger right now. Chao Ju's father, Chao Rong's eyes flickered with a strange light. He couldn't help but glance at Chu Yang and thought, this kid is indeed extraordinary. No wonder Ju jumped out. He must have thought that Lu Tianrui's martial spirit visualization diagram was a free gift. It would be a waste not to take it. Chu Renxian, Li Hao, Zhang Tian, and the others from the East Arrival Pavilion and the Coiling Dragon Martial Institution were shocked and overjoyed. They burst into a wave of cheers. They were happy for Chu Yang and also for themselves. Today, Chu Yang had displayed such invincible might. In the future, no one in the 5 Elements sect would dare to humiliate them. Master's Uncle Mu, don't put on an expression of astonishment and disbelief. Yes, you didn't hear wrong. This battle doesn't count. You can send someone else. Chu Yang smiled and said, also, Master's Uncle Mu, you must remember not to take care of me anymore. Otherwise, I will feel embarrassed. Not to mention Sui Yunfu, even Long Fij and Du Guanghua, who were more courageous, felt their hearts skip a beat when they heard Chu Yang's sharp taunts. They were already prepared to intercept Mu Hongyi, lose control of their anger, and kill Chu Yang. Crack crack. Crack crack sounds came from Mu Hongyi. It was unknown whether it was the sound of his teeth clenching, his fists clenching, or both. Seeing him like this, many of the Five Elements' disciples couldn't help but sympathize with him. Chu Yang's words were simply too sharp and piercing. Some people were worried that Mu Hongyi wasn't strong enough and would die from anger. Chu Yang, you are too presumptuous. I will smash your fangs into powder one by one. I will tear off your mouth bit by bit. A sinister voice stole everyone's sight and ears. A young man in his mid-20s with waist-length hair like a woman walked out from the crowd of disciples behind Mu Hongyi. Chapter 510. TSK, a weakling. Chu Yang looked down on him. He said to Mu Hongyi, "Uncle, can you send someone decent? There's obviously something wrong with this guy's brain." Chu Yang, the short and strong man, felt humiliated and roared furiously. "Go to the side. Don't you know that a little rabbit won't go out if its mother doesn't let it? Also, you're very noisy. Why are you shouting for no reason?" Chu Yang really hated that roar. His ears were disturbed by it, and he had an impatient look on his face. Everyone was stunned. Chu Yang's mouth was too vicious. They felt that there was no need to beat him. That short and strong man was going to be angered to death. However, they had to admit that this short and strong man was indeed not good enough. He was only at the 6th level of the Ascending Soul Realm. Zhang Yuanlin was at the 5th level of the Ascending Soul Realm, and he was also a body cultivator, but he was crushed to death by Chu Yang's finger. What was the 6th level to him? He was simply asking for humiliation. Boom! The short and strong man exploded with a soaring aura. The air surged in all directions like waves. "You deserve to die. Do you have any manners?" Chu Yang immediately criticized him. "I'm talking to your parents right now. Can't you be a quiet and handsome man for the time being? Can't you just watch my heavenly martial prowess quietly?" Everyone's mouth couldn't help but twitch. "Uncle Mu, can you be more serious? Are you sure it's this weakling who came? My heart is jumping up and down. I'm very uneasy." Everyone choked again. Whose mouth was the most vicious in the Five Elements sect? The Divine Command Peak was looking for Chu Yang. "Xiaomohu, go take good care of your junior brother Chu." Mu Hongyi finally spoke. His anger was suppressed, and his face was malicious. "Remember, don't hurt your junior brother Chu." "Yes." Xiaomohu was furious. His waist-length hair danced wildly. "Junior brother Chu, be careful. Don't hurt him." Chu Yang put his hands behind his back and said with a smile, "Weakling, I'll give you a two-handed handicap. Let me use both hands?" Xiaomohu clenched his teeth and sneered. "Junior brother Chu, you can only bring shame to yourself by saying such big words. Today I will teach you this truth." He suddenly let out a long roar, his waist-length hair fluttering in the wind. His eyes flashed with a cold light as he stepped in front of Chu Yang and threw a punch forward. He punched out. His fist was like a seal, his true chi materialized and golden light flashed. A golden divine monument appeared and fell down, standing on the side of the river. It seemed to be suppressing the monster in the river, and also seemed to be suppressing the river, not allowing it to stir up trouble. The divine steel suppresses the river. Xiaomohu was using a seal technique, the divine tombstone seal. It was extremely shocking. The moment he made a move, it showed how extraordinary he was. Although the great river was only an outline, that divine monument was extremely real. Chu Yang stood motionless, waiting for Xiaomohu's monumental fist to arrive in front of him. Only then did the Zhen Yuan form an arm under his ribs. He extended an index finger and flicked out a ray of light, hitting Xiaomohu's fist. The 1,000 lights and 10,000 shadows art combined perfectly with the mountain martial spirit. Bang! The divine tombstone seal shattered. Xiaomohu's body shook violently, his eyes filled with disbelief. The clothes on his body suddenly tore apart. Chu Yang's sharp ray of light had completely shredded his clothes, leaving only a small red underwear. When the female disciples of Lotus Flower Peak saw this, they hurriedly spat. Junior brother Chu is really not a proper person. They covered their faces with their hands, not daring to look again. Mu Hongyi and the others' faces immediately became very ugly. Xiaomohu was shocked and angry. He hurriedly took out a set of clothes from his storage ring and randomly put them on. With a long roar, his black hair fluttered again, and he threw out another punch. Chu Yang smiled. Their fists and fingers collided, but this time there was no sound. However, Xiaomohu only felt a cold sensation on his head. He couldn't help but be startled. He touched his forehead and instantly felt that it was bare. His well-taken care of waist-length hair had been shattered by Chu Yang's finger and turned into ashes. Chu Yang lightly flicked his finger and said indifferently, "Weak chicken, that's enough. Otherwise, if you make another move, it won't just be your clothes and your elegant hair that will suddenly disappear." My hair, give me back my hair!" Xiaomo howled in grief. It was as if his beloved had been killed. And he seemed to have lost his mind because of the loss of his beloved waist-length hair. It seemed as if he had gone mad. He soared into the air and bombarded Chu Yang with a punch. Chu Yang was still smiling evilly, but at this time, a change occurred. Clang, clang, clang! The sound of swords clashing rang out, and a dazzling golden light flashed. Amidst the golden light, Xiaomohu revealed a sinister smile. There was no longer any trace of anger. In his palm, a golden light screen had already completely enveloped Chu Yang. Countless golden swords appeared within it, cutting towards Chu Yang. Golden cut. Chapter 511. Xiaomohu showed weakness, and Chu Yang fell for it. It happened in the blink of an eye, and by the time everyone realized what had happened, it was already too late. This Xiaomohu was really good at scheming and could really endure humiliation. Previously, his clothes had been cut to shreds, leaving him with only his underwear, and his beloved waist-length hair had been cut off, but he still endured it and even pretended to lose his mind. But just as everyone thought so, he exploded with a fatal blow. Xiaomohu hit it too well. No, it should be said that Chu Yang was too arrogant and underestimated his opponent, and Xiaomohu grasped this very well. When Sui Yunfu, Long Feisai, and Du Guangbua saw the golden light shield, their expressions changed greatly, and they cried out in alarm, "Golden cut, golden elder!" At this moment, Mu Hongyi's gloomy complexion was like a thick layer of dark clouds that had completely dispersed. It suddenly became clear and bright, without a single cloud in sight. The smile on his face also completely blossomed. He was like a blooming flower under the bright sun. When he heard Sui Yunfu and the other two's shocked voices, he couldn't help but smile even more happily, and looked at the three with a mocking smile. "You're too arrogant and happy too early. As for the Golden Elder, compared to the Grand Elder, the Five Elements sect knew even less. The first Golden Elder was a Sciention lifeform born in the Five Elements sect's mountain gate. The first Golden Elder and the first Grand Elder didn't get along well. The Golden Elder wasn't a match for the Grand Elder, and the two fought to the death. The Golden Elder lost, but was not killed by the Grand Elder. The Golden Elder saw this as a humiliation, and this enmity never stopped as the Five Elements sect's inheritance continued. Instead, it became more and more intense, and between the various successors, it was like fire and water. In the Five Elements sect, the Grand Elder's successor could be said to be the Golden Elder's mortal enemy. Sui Yun Fu and the other two never expected this Xiao Mohu to be the Golden Elder's successor. What the hell are you laughing at? Long Face Eye couldn't stand Mu Hongyi's mocking and looked back at him. I just went easy on you, or else you would have lost a leg long ago. Mu Hongyi snorted and then directly mocked. Long Face Eye, you can only blame yourself for being too arrogant. Long Face choked. Chu Yang was indeed careless just now. Everything that had happened was too sudden. Xiao Mohu had suddenly erupted with strength that was several times more terrifying than before, and had suddenly become the successor of the Golden Elder. Many people could not react in time. However, they could clearly see the golden light shield and the cutting within the light shield. The golden light was incomparably dazzling, and the swords seemed to be endless. They were madly cutting, and Chu Yang's figure could no longer be seen. It was as if Chu Yang had been cut into minced meat and powder. At this moment, Chao Rong's expression couldn't help but change. However, Chao Ju was still smiling and didn't care at all. Interesting. Jin Duo spoke at this time. He had already decided to attract the attention of the female disciples of Lotus Flower Peak. He suddenly said to Mu Hongyi, Martial Uncle Mu, you seem to be very confident. I'm a gambler, so I want to make a bet with you. Martial Uncle Mu, do you dare? Jean Duoduo's words shocked everyone. Who is that? He's beside Chao Ju. Could it be that Jean Duoduo? That's not right. Isn't Jean Duoduo a meatball? Jean Duoduo had successfully attracted everyone's attention, but the people of the Five Elements sect could no longer recognize him. He was prepared and said loudly, Don't be too surprised. Yes, I'm that damn fatty meatball, but I've successfully lost weight. Losing weight is something that can only be done with great perseverance. I've done it. This means that I'm a very trustworthy man. It's really Jean Duoduo. It can't be. That meatball Jean Duoduo can really make all the fat on his body disappear. How miraculous. This damn fatty's gambling addiction is acting up again. He's so addicted to gambling, yet he still has the nerve to say that he's a trustworthy man. Without his fat, let's see what he's going to gamble with. He doesn't know the difference between life and death. He dares to interfere in this situation. Gambling addiction is truly hopeless. Jean Duoduo's face was filled with black lines. He really wanted to strangle these people to death. This grandpa was seducing the hearts of women. Why are you messing around and talking nonsense? Chapter 512. Chao Ju was very satisfied with Jean Duoduo's timely appearance, especially the excuse of gambling addiction. He immediately sent a message to Jean Duoduo, RK, use your mountain martial spirit visualization diagram to bet against his 1,000 mist pearl. Jean Duoduo immediately became spirited. The mountain martial spirit should be able to charm 1 or 2 girls. Martial Uncle Mu, disciple will use the mountain martial spirit visualization diagram to bet against your 1,000 mist pearl. Unfortunately, everyone's focus was not on the mountain martial spirit visualization diagram or the treasure, but on Mu Hongyi's face. Everyone was waiting to see how Mu Hongyi would react to Jean Duoduo's provocation. Damn it, I'm already like this, why don't you guys give me some attention and applause? Jean Duoduo was about to spit out blood. Mu Hongyi was also about to spit out blood. Seeing that Chu Yang was about to die, someone dared to use the mountain martial spirit visualization diagram, such a precious item, to bet against him? Was he crazy or stupid? What did Chao Rong mean? Even so, they still believed that Chu Yang would not lose? In an instant, countless thoughts flashed through Mu Hongyi's mind. Xiao Mohu's identity as the successor of the Golden Elder made him agree with a gloomy face. Okay, I'll bet with you. The successor of the Golden Elder, no matter how bad he was, couldn't be much worse than the successor of the Grand Elder. Thank you, Martial Uncle Mu. As soon as Jean Duoduo finished speaking, his eyes swept across the crowd. He really wanted to stomp his feet. He had specially thanked Mu Hongi. Only Mu Hongi could accept such a divine stroke of sarcasm. Everyone else was shocked and discussing Mu Hongi's decision, as well as Chu Yang's life or death. Other than that, no one knew about his great achievement, so it didn't attract any attention. Even his boss was the same, as if he didn't hear him at all. His sharp eyes fell on the golden light shield. Sui Yunfu, Long Fis, and Du Guangbo were the same. They were extremely worried and their eyes were fixed on the golden light shield without blinking. Heavens, why are you doing this to me? I just want to attract attention. Why is it so hard to find a wife? Jean Duo was wailing in his heart. Uncle Goat, what are you worried about? Suddenly, a voice came out, causing everyone to be stunned. It seemed to be Chu Yang's voice, but it did not come from the golden light barrier at all. Before anyone could react, the voice rang out again and again. Uncle Shabby, your aura weakened as soon as Martial Uncle Mu spoke. Aren't you a little too unconfident? Uncle Bobo, can you not open your eyes so wide? Be careful not to tear your eyelids. With such words and such a tone, who else could it be but Chu Yang? Shua. Everyone looked towards the source of the voice. Suddenly, the crowd retreated like a wave. A slender figure appeared in front of everyone. The corners of his mouth curled up into a playful smile. He rubbed his nose and had a carefree expression on his face. He had a sloppy look on his face. If it wasn't Chu Yang, who else could it be? His sloppy manner was something that most people would not be able to learn in 108,000 years. It was too ironic. Chu Yang, how did he appear there? Wasn't he trapped in the golden light shield? When did he escape? How could he be so secretive? Trash like us didn't notice, but could it be that the martial uncles and martial uncles didn't notice? That's right. Could it be that Chu Yang can teleport? If we're talking about formations, there are no formations here. How could he teleport? In the end, it was a more reasonable guess, but that was it. In an instant, the thread was cut off. Chapter 513. At this moment, Mu Hongi's eyes were bulging like a dead fish, completely unable to move. His gaze was fixed on Chu Yang, motionless. It was as if he had died with a grievance, his gaze completely frozen. Song Yangyan, Lu Tianrui, Yu Jingfu, and the others were all dumbfounded, looking like they were mentally retarded. They couldn't control the muscles on their faces, and saliva was about to drip from the corners of their mouth. Some of them still had cold smiles on their faces at this moment, but now they froze. When combined with the expression of a retard, it was extremely strange. It could even be said to be a strange sight. When did he escape? How did he escape? Xiaomohu was the most shocked. He was now like a withered leaf on an ancient tree, fluttering helplessly in the autumn wind. He couldn't figure out how Chu Yang had done it. Chu Yang swallowed the illusory demon inner pellet, and his true essence third transformation was completed. Using the false true essence, he became transparent. If one didn't pay attention, they wouldn't be able to see him. Of course, this wasn't enough. He used his somersault cloud, and the path to heaven appeared under his feet. With a step, he instantly appeared outside the arena. Also, he used the 1,000 lights and 10,000 shadows art to weave a shadow of himself, using it as a cover to deceive everyone. It seems simple, but Chu Yang used many skills. As for Xiaomohu's golden cut, it was indeed shocking. Unfortunately, Chu Yang was wary of Xiaomohu. He had just killed Zhang Yuanlin, who was in the 5th level of the Ascending Soul Realm, with a single finger. Xiaomohu was only in the 6th level. What right did he have to stand out? Xiaomohu still looked a little foolish. His move was instantly broken by Chu Yang, and he was like a fool who had come to die. Even if he was a fool, was Mu Hongi a fool? Who was the fool? There weren't many fools in this world. If Chu Yang thought Xiaomohu was a fool, then he was really a fool. Senior brother Xiaomohu, Why do you look like you've seen a ghost? Chu Yang suddenly asked. People almost couldn't help but laugh, but they held it in. There is more. Chu Yang pointed at the golden light dome. Senior brother Xiao Mohu, there are so many shiny swords and knives in there. What are you slashing madly in there? There seems to be nothing. Ha ha! In the end, everyone couldn't hold it in any longer and burst out laughing. Suiyan's mouth twitched. He felt like he was going to beat Chu Yang, Mu Hongyi, Xiao Mohu, and the others to death. What do you mean by that? Why are you so ruthless that you have to chop me into ashes? Everyone was speechless at Chu Yang's obvious question. Look at you, with that mouth of yours. If I don't chop you into mincemeat and turn you into ashes, Xiao Mohu will probably wake up from his sleep in anger. Junior brother Chu, you're really something. Xiao Mohu's reaction wasn't as violent as everyone thought. He only seemed to have been struck by lightning. After his body trembled like an electric current, he calmed down. His sinister gaze was like that of a venomous snake as he stared at Chu Yang. Senior brother Xiao Mohu must be joking. Senior brother Zhao's golden cut is amazing. Chu Yang pointed at the golden light dome and said to Xiao Mohu, Senior brother Xiao, I heard from below that you are the successor of the Golden Elder. This Golden Elder must be an extraordinary person. I hope senior brother Xiao can tell me more about him. I'm really curious. Chu Yang really didn't know who the Golden Elder was. Da. He stepped on the void and walked back to the battle stage step by step. Chapter 5:14. Chu Yang didn't understand what Xiao Mohu meant. He smiled faintly and said, That's right. You want to know about the Golden Elder too? All right, I'll show you. Xiao Mohu suddenly roared. 8 arms golden sky technique. Boom! Suddenly, the battle stage shone with a bright golden light. The entire battle stage trembled violently. With a loud cracking sound, the incomparably hard battle stage actually burst open. Smoke and dust soared into the sky. Terrifying cracks spread out in all directions from where Xiao Mohu was. The loud sound traveled several miles and reverberated throughout the arena. Immediately, the golden light pierced through the smoke and dust. After a while, in front of the collapsed ruins, a gigantic, 8-armed, golden-yellow metal man with a powerful aura appeared out of nowhere. Mecha Gundam. Chu Yang's pupils couldn't help but shake. At first glance, this 8-armed golden metal man looked like the mecha from Chu Yang's previous life. Its entire body shone with a golden luster. It was so cool that Chu Yang felt envious. It was as tall as 4 people. Its metal body seemed to be made of gold like a King Kong. It had an indestructible aura. It stood on the ruins of the arena like a mountain. The 8 golden arms behind it held 8 different weapons: saber, spear, sword, hammer, halberd, spear, beryllium, and wheel. They were all golden and majestic. The aura of golden waves surged out of the 8-armed mecha's body like a tidal wave. The surrounding air immediately began to howl like a huge wave. Golden puppet? It was impossible for it to be a mecha. In this world, it could only be a puppet. But puppets should be what the divine command peak was best at. Chu Yang was bewildered. As his mind raced, his eyes met the eyes of this 8-armed puppet. His eyelids suddenly twitched. An indescribable sense of strangeness welled up in his heart. He had originally thought that this was Xiao Mo Huyi's powerful puppet weapon, or perhaps an incarnation. However, when he saw the pair of golden eyes, which were bright and full of expression, as if they were alive, he immediately realized that he was wrong, and very wrong at that. This wasn't an incarnation at all, nor was it a puppet. No puppet could have a pair of human eyes. Those were clearly the eyes of a Xiao Mohu. They were sinister, vicious, and filled with killing intent. 8 arms golden heaven technique. What kind of technique is that? What is the relationship between Elder Gold and the Supreme Elder? Mahamayuri's enraged form also had 8 arms. This golden heavenly technique also had 8 arms. Chu Yang's pupils had already contracted. This Xiaomohu was even more astonishing than he had imagined. No wonder Xiaomohu was only in the 6th level of the ascending soul tier, yet Mu Hongyi had allowed him to fight. There was indeed something unusual about this. Junior brother Chu, do you still want to give me a handicap of 2 arms? Buzz. Zap zap. Crack crack. Xiaomohu's 8 golden arms moved at the same time. The sound of metal clashing rang out and the void hummed. The weapons in the 8 arms' hands were like the weapons of 8 heavenly gods, slicing through the surroundings. The momentum was shocking and soul-stirring. This is the golden indestructible body of the first golden elder, transformed from the golden source? At this time, Chao Ju's pupils contracted. Very few people in the 5 elements sect knew about the legend of the golden elder. He had heard of the 8 arms golden heaven technique and the 8 arms golden indestructible body, but this was the first time he had seen it. The smile on Jean Duoduo's face also disappeared. There was no trace of playfulness. The violent saint's tiger eyes flickered with a strange light. He seemed to be anxious and worried. Chu Yang's heart sank. He had a very strange feeling. It was as if he had stepped into the future world, and was facing a super weapon like a mecha. He felt powerless, as if he couldn't shake it at all. If he punched it with his bare fists, it would hurt him, but he couldn't shake the mecha at all. Chapter 5:15. Brat, you need to be careful. The 5 Elements Sect's Grand Elder and Golden Elders feud has been going on for a long time. The 8-armed Golden Innate Skill is the Golden Elder's ultimate skill, comparable to your Grand Elder's Mahamayuri Sutra. When Xiaomohu performed the 8-armed Golden Innate Skill, Sui Yunfu's telepathic message immediately reached Chu Yang's mind, giving him a general understanding of the so-called Golden Elder and the 8-armed Golden Innate Skill. The first Golden Elder of the 5 Elements sect was not a human, but a metal innate life form. He was a special life form that had evolved into a body of flesh and blood through cultivation, and was very powerful. After that, he unintentionally obtained a strange golden metal that completely fused with his innate metal body. The shape of the metal was not limited to the 8 arms, there were many forms. The 8 arms golden innate technique was actually the innate talent of the first Golden Elder. However, after the first Golden Elder, his successors were no longer sentient life forms, nor were they metallic life forms. It was the first Golden Elder who transformed his innate talent into a cultivation method, which was the current 8-armed Golden Innate Skill. The reason why it was the 8-armed Golden Innate Skill was to counter the Mahamayuri Sutra. When the Mahamayuri Sutra was angry, it could spread out 8 arms. 8 arms against 8 arms, so this skill was called the 8-armed Golden Innate Skill. The form that Xiaomohu performed relied on the golden origin left behind by the first Golden Elder. Although the transformation could be performed through the 8-armed Golden Innate Skill, its power was greatly reduced. After all, the descendants of the first Golden Elder like Xiaomohu were not innate life forms, so they could not fully display the power of the Golden Origin. It could be said that the current form of the Golden Origin had been solidified. After Chu Yang had a general understanding, the fire in his heart burned even more. If I get this Golden Origin, won't I really be able to transform into a mecha and fly in the universe? The power was not the most important thing. The most important thing was that it could not only transform into a mecha, but also into a mecha. It should also be able to transform into a plane, a tank, and all kinds of things that Chu Yang had seen in his previous life. Chu Yang did not say that he had a mecha dream, but he was very interested in this mecha. Of course, it was not a real mecha, but it was fine as long as it looked like one. How should we deal with it? This Golden Origin was indestructible, and Chu Yang found it difficult to break through its defenses. Fortunately, the level of the golden origin source was determined by the level of the Xiao Mo tiger. The level of the Xiao Mo tiger was the level of the golden origin source. The 5 elements heaven circulating ring and the 5 lights anti-heaven star are probably the same. They are determined according to one's level. The stronger one is, the stronger they are. Chu Yang frowned. Xiao Mohu was practically operating a mecha to fight him now. With this analogy, a thought suddenly popped into Chu Yang's mind. If it's a mecha, it must need energy. Then the Xiao Mohu's vital essence is the mecha's energy. Once the mecha moves, it requires a lot of energy. In other words, Xiao Mohu's vital essence will be greatly depleted. That's it. Haha. Chu Yang laughed out loud. Senior brother Xiao, what's the harm in letting you have 2 arms? How about I let you have 8 arms? Buzz buzz buzz. Vital essence surged out. Chu Yang used the Mahamayuri Sutra to form 8 arms. He smiled and said, I won't use these 8 arms. Boom. There was a great shock. Even Mu Hongyi, who was very pleased with himself, was shocked. This bastard, what is he relying on? He dares to boast so shamelessly. The Xiao Mo tiger's huge pupils, which were like 2 golden metal balls, had clearly shrunk at this moment. It was extremely obvious on its golden body. Is 8 arms not enough? Then I'll let you have 100 arms. Whoosh! Chu Yang used the 1,000-leaf hands, and 100 arms appeared behind him, forming a divine ring. Everyone couldn't help but be shocked. Chapter 5:16. Thump thump thump. The great 1,000-leaf hands changed again, and the 900 arms behind Chu Yang appeared once more. Each 100 arms formed a divine ring, and the 1,000 arms behind him formed 10 divine rings. They were densely packed together, and their divine might was awe-inspiring. It was very shocking. In that instant, Chu Yang seemed to have become a 1,000-armed Buddha. His entire body bloomed with Buddhist light, and it was as if a Buddha had appeared in the mortal world, delivering all living beings from torment. Hiss! Everyone couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Regardless of the power of the 1,000 arms, this scene was too shocking, and Chu Yang was unbelievably arrogant. You let me have 2 arms and you mocked me. Fine, I'll let you have 8 arms. If 8 arms aren't enough, I'll let you have 100. If 100 isn't enough, I'll let you have 1,000 arms. How spicy, how sarcastic. Xiao Mohu used the 8 arms golden Xiantian art, and his might was awe-inspiring. He mocked Chu Yang's arrogance and ignorance, but Chu Yang's counterattack had turned his mockery into dregs and humiliated him to no end. This was the so-called infuriating behavior of Chu Yang. I'm not looking down on you, but you don't even have the qualifications for me to look down on you. Such a message was transmitted to Xiao Mohu's heart. No one knew how Xiao Mohu would react. Even if he fainted on the spot, they wouldn't be too surprised. Sui Yunfu, Mu Hongyi, Song Yangyan, Chao Rong, and the others saw it differently. Not only had Chu Yang received the Grand Elder's true inheritance, but he had also comprehended it to the point of perfection. It could be said that he had completely grasped the profound mysteries of the Grand Elder's lineage. Compared to Chu Yang, Xiao Mohu's understanding of the Gold Elder's inheritance was very shallow. I can't think of anything you can rely on for your insolence. He gnashed his teeth, and his voice was as cold as ice. At this moment, he was no different from a chicken or dog in Chu Yang's eyes. Chu Yang didn't take him seriously at all. Tearing his clothes and cutting off his waist-length hair was like dealing with the feathers of a chicken or dog. Now that he had 1,000 arms, it was like slaughtering him. At this moment, he felt as if his heart was on fire. His internal organs were burning with raging flames. Chu Yang smiled and said, "Wait, I'll tell you later. I'd like to see how arrogant you can be." Chu Yang dispersed the 1,000 arms, and Xiao Mohu made his move. "Give me your life." His feet moved, and a huge golden metal body appeared. Immediately, his 8 arms moved at a dazzling speed, brandishing saber, spear, sword, halberd, hammer, halberd, beryllium, and wheel. Like a golden storm, he chopped towards Chu Yang. There were no blind spots. All of the blind spots were blocked, and all of Chu Yang's escape routes were blocked. Saber, spear, sword, halberd, hammer, halberd, beryllium, wheel, these weapons streaked across the void, leaving behind sharp scars. Even the void seemed to be stirred into mincemeat by this storm of weapons. Although the 8-armed golden metal body was huge, its agility and speed were not proportional to its body. It was as light as a swallow, as agile, as sharp, and as agile as a monkey, as accurate and venomous as a snake, as strong as a bear, and as lethal as a lion or a tiger. The golden light that constantly flickered even had the nobility and supremacy of a true dragon. It seemed to be a highly efficient killing machine, destroying everything like a god of death. Anyone who approached it would be torn to pieces and completely annihilated. Such an attack made people pale in horror. They only felt that facing such an attack, their courage would be shattered, and they would be chopped to death. There was no way to escape, and it made people despair. Chapter 5:17. Buzz! The halberds and dagger axes on Xiaomohu's 8 arms were the first to arrive. The halberd chopped straight down towards Chu Yang's head. Everyone saw that Chu Yang only tilted his head slightly, and dodged the attack. But his feet didn't move at all. The halberd almost brushed past his ear. Everyone who saw this scene felt a burst of fear and trepidation. Behind Chu Yang's shoulder, the halberd brushed past Chu Yang's ear and fell straight down. It was about to split Chu Yang's shoulder into 2 asymmetrical halves. But everyone saw that Chu Yang's feet slightly moved to one side. Then, they heard the sharp whistling sound of the halberd. It brushed past Chu Yang's sleeve and fell to the ground. The golden halberd was unusually sharp. When it fell to the ground, it was like a knife stabbing into tofu. But before anyone could cry out in alarm, the dagger axes were already stabbing towards Chu Yang's chest. Chu Yang only moved back to his original position and dodged the dagger axes in a miraculous manner. The dagger axes stabbed past his ribs and completely missed. Then came the sabers, swords, hammers, beryllium, and wheels. But just like the halberd and dagger axes, they were all dodged by Chu Yang with a slight difference in time and space. If Chu Yang had made even the slightest mistake in time or space, he would have died without a doubt. But he had done it. It was unbelievable that he had done it. Time seemed to have stopped. Everyone was almost suffocating. It seemed as if Chu Yang was dancing on the tip of a knife, singing and dancing gracefully in a sea of fire. He even opened the folding fan in his hand with a snap sound. Then, he slowly fanned himself. The clouds were light and the wind was light. There was not a trace of smoke or fire. It was as if he was not in the mortal world. He was like a god. He was like a white cloud. When the wind came, he would automatically drift and sway. That scholarly feather fan and silk headband. His expression made everyone absent-minded for a moment. Chu Yang's unimaginable dodging was simply miraculous. The same thing happened again and again. Xiao Mo Hu Ba Bai's first round of attacks did not succeed, so he immediately followed up with wave after wave of attacks. In an instant, Chu Yang dodged in that small space, as if he was a fish in a fish tank. There were 8 people with swords, spears, swords, and halberds stabbing at him, but they were all easily dodged by this fish. He didn't forget to spit out a bubble to mock them. Sabers, spears, swords, and halberds shattered the fish tank. The fish fell out of the fish tank. There was no more water, but it struggled and jumped on the ground. It strangely dodged the attacks of the 8 people. Then, it seemed to treat air as water and swam in the air. Henceforth, the world was vast, and this fish seemed to no longer be restricted. It moved about as it pleased, but it didn't leave. It swam about, provoking and ridiculing those 8 people. This was the scene of Chu Yang and Xiao Mo who fighting, and it was also what everyone felt. When Chu Yang was in the most dangerous situation, he was like a fish tank that had been broken. Then, after he had adapted to the Xiao Mo tiger's crazy attacks, he was like a fish that swam in the air, as if it was water. He was like a fish swimming in the vast sea and a bird flying in the vast sky. At first, everyone was incomparably nervous, but slowly, they wanted to see Chu Yang juggling. So, they didn't feel the slightest bit of thrill. In the end, Chu Yang's dodging seemed to have become a kind of art. It dazzled everyone and made them forget themselves. At the same time, under the frenzied attacks of the 8 gold-ranked weapons, Chu Yang also created a series of illusions. The 5 elements disordered steps was becoming more and more proficient. Every time he took a step, the rays of light would twist and turn, and then completely distort. It was very magical. When Chu Yang obtained the Wind Brain, it wasn't as simple as breaking through to the 7th level of the Chi Soul realm. All of his abilities were greatly improved. Especially his brain, the improvement was extremely shocking. Everything in the world seemed to slow down for him. In order to not affect his normal life and be completely separated from others, he had no choice but to seal this ability. In addition to his originally huge and meticulous perception, even if he didn't use the universal reflector and didn't use his genius martial spirit, he could deal with Xiao Mo whose attacks with ease. Chapter 518. Chu Yang also had the 5 elements disordered step. Although it was his first time using the 5 elements disordered steps in a real battle, it was still difficult at first, but in the end, he became more and more proficient. Everything around him was completely disordered under his feet, allowing Xiao Mohu to completely capture his trajectory. With so many things superimposed together, the unbelievable scene just now appeared. It could be said that at this moment, Chu Yang released the dazzling light on his body, revealing his brilliance. After a few rounds of crazy attacks from Xiao Mohu, the whole place was in an uproar. The noise was like boiling water, as if the lid of a pot was being lifted up, and the sky was about to be lifted up and opened. Unbelievable, how did he do it? Exclamation point. Someone couldn't help but curse. This is real. Can it be any more ridiculous? This is definitely the most shocking scene I've ever seen in my life. There's no comparison. This is simply toying with the god of death, dancing in the palm of the god of death. It can be called art. It's extremely beautiful, like a dream, like something that shouldn't exist in this world. Not only were the disciples of the 5 Elements sect shocked, but the upper echelons of the 5 Elements sect were also shocked, frightened, and even a little horrified. Xiao Mohu was the successor of the Golden Elder, and his 8-armed golden innate skill was extremely powerful. Yet, he was completely toyed with by Chu Yang. If the Golden Elder was alive and saw this scene, he would be fuming with anger. It was just that no one knew if he was angry at Xiao Mohu's incompetence or hated Chu Yang's amazingness. Jin Duo had already cursed in his heart. Damn Chu Yang, can't you stop for a moment and make such a picturesque scene? Don't you know that in the eyes of the girls, they only have you in their eyes recently? Jin Duo wailed in his heart. Although he didn't know that Chu Yang could be so amazing, this didn't stop him from cursing. Junior brother Chu is heaven-defying. In the end, the Saint of Violence could only find the word heaven-defying to describe Chu Yang. Looking at Chao Ju and Chao Rong, they were also indescribably shocked. The expression on Mu Hongyi's face right now was the most interesting. Shock, fear, resentment, regret, and all sorts of other emotions were intertwined. The expression on his face was like that of an enraged person. After venting his anger, he had no place to stay in the mess in his house, and his heart was even more restless. However, no one felt as deeply as Xiao Mohu, and no one felt as much as he did. In front of Chu Yang, he was like a clown, like a maggot wriggling in a cesspit, extremely ugly. The more he displayed himself, the more explosive his strength, the more violent and ferocious he became, but it only served to set off Chu Yang's astonishing, imposing, supreme, and infinite brilliance. This was more unbearable than anything else. It was even more unbearable than killing him. It was as if he had forcefully pushed his enemy onto the altar, and then he would be drowned in the glory of his enemy and be reduced to ashes. It was a humiliation that had never been seen before and would never be seen again. Stupidity, an unprecedented stupidity. Right now, Xiaomohu was too ashamed to face anyone. He wanted to find a hole in the ground and crawl into it. He even wanted to slit his own throat and commit suicide. Chu Yang, do you only know how to dodge? Xiaomohu raised his head to the sky and roared. His sudden roar frightened everyone quite a bit. Chu Yang stopped and casually stood there like a white cloud floating in the air. Facing Xiaomohu's roar, he smiled and said, I've already given you a handicap of 1,000 arms. I can't use my hands, so what else do you want? Could it be that you want me to give you a handicap of 2 legs? Xiaomohu almost choked to death. He roared again, Chu Yang, you think you're worthy of being called the number 1 of the 5 Elements sect? You ganged up on the 15 peaks. Such a roar made everyone realize a problem. Chu Yang's dodging was indeed astonishing, but he couldn't do anything to Xiaomohu. The more ingenious his dodging, the more it reflected his powerlessness. Chapter 519. Xiaomohu's defense was truly a problem, but Chu Yang didn't care. He dug his ears and said in annoyance, Why are you shouting so loudly? It's not like I can't hear you. Everyone, I solemnly declare that I'm not deaf. Everyone, please pay attention. At this time, Chu Yang was still in the mood to sneer. After saying that I despise your voice, let's move on to the next question. Chu Yang lazily said, Senior Brother Xiao, since you're so adamant that I beat you up, I can satisfy you. Do you have the ability? Xiaomohu was both angry and happy. He was angry that Chu Yang was looking down on him, and happy that Chu Yang was finally going to fight him head-on. Do you really think that I can't do anything to you? Chu Yang smiled. Buzz. Xiaomohu directly used his actions to express himself. The golden wheel in the middle of his 8 arms began to rotate violently. An extremely sharp, thread-like stream of air suddenly gushed out, letting out a shrill whistle. A fierce wind blew, and the space behind Xiaomohu's massive golden body began to twist. In the blink of an eye, with the golden wheel as the center, a violent hurricane rapidly took shape in the air and wrapped around the massive body. This hurricane made the massive and heavy golden body even lighter, as light as a feather, and Xiaomohu's speed also increased. Buzz. In a flash of golden light, Xiaomohu transformed into a blurry golden light that flashed through the air and instantly appeared in front of Chu Yang. TSK. Chu Yang snorted in disdain. Xiaomohu was fast, but he was even faster. Boom. Just as Xiaomohu's 8 arms were about to unleash a flurry of attacks, Chu Yang suddenly vanished. The sky darkened and a foot suddenly appeared, stomping down on Xiaomohu's head from the side. Chu Yang's movements were so fast that Xiaomohu had no time to react. Moreover, this foot had appeared at just the right moment. Xiaomohu's 8 arms had smashed into empty air, and he had almost lost his center of gravity. How is he so fast? Xiaomohu was shocked, but that foot had already stomped down, crushing his golden head into the ground. The hard ground directly exploded, and all kinds of mud and gravel flew into the sky. Ha ha ha, Chu Yang laughed heartily. He ruthlessly stomped Xiaomohu into the ground with 1 foot, making him look like an ancient devil god. The 8-armed golden innate technique is not bad, but it's a pity that it's still far inferior to yours. Chu Yang's laughter echoed in all directions. Xiao Mohu's movements were too slow in Chu Yang's eyes, so much so that he was able to control the timing and position of his attacks with extreme ease. It was very difficult for Chu Yang to break through. He had to cultivate the innate body. However, his perception, acuity, and other improvements were also beyond the reach of ordinary people. At this moment, his perception of everything was refined to the finest detail. It could be said that he had already stepped into the realm of being refined to the finest detail. "It's useless. You can't hurt me." A bone-chilling voice came from the ground. Boom! A cold light burst out from the ground, and an earth-shattering power suddenly burst out from the ground. Chu Yang's body was actually sent flying by this terrifying power. However, Chu Yang was not flustered at all, as if he had already expected this. He squinted his eyes and raised his hands slightly. Chi! Chi! Rays of light burst out from Chu Yang's finger. They were suffused with a terrifying cold light. They were sharp and tough, like threads of sword energy. They left Chu Yang's finger and were like tiny dragons swimming in the air. The rays of light were dazzling. As they intertwined in the void, they seemed to form a large cutting net that fell down. 1,000 lights and 10,000 shadows. Mu Hongyi, Song Yangyan, Lu Tianrui, and the others cried out in alarm. The guardian elder of the fire element peak even warned Xiao Mohu loudly, "Careful, this is the secret technique of the divine command peak to control puppets." Long Fis and Du Guangbo both looked at Sui Yunfu in astonishment. They never expected that Sui Yunfu would directly teach the secret technique of the divine command peak to Chu Yang. However, what shocked them was that Sui Yunfu was even more shocked than them. The complete 1,000 lights and 10,000 shadows, this is the complete 1,000 lights and 10,000 shadows. At this moment, a shadow appeared under Chu Yang's feet. It silently moved like an assassin and wrapped around the golden legs of the golden immortal body. Hum! Chapter 520. 1,000 Lights and 10,000 Shadows Spell. Xiao Mohu was startled by Mu Hongyi's exclamation. He knew that things weren't looking good. Right now, it could be said that he was controlling an invincible puppet to fight Chu Yang. If the puppet was controlled, wouldn't he be at the mercy of Chu Yang? In that instant, the situation suddenly reversed. Originally, he had relied on his 8 arms to attack from every direction. His invincible golden immortal body was instantly surrounded. Chu Yang had been dodging before, but now, his attacks were even crazier than before. The light net covered his golden head and could not cut through it, so it pulled fiercely. Under the coordination of the shadows under his feet, he was almost caught off guard and was pulled down. Over 100 Chu Yangs, countless of them not present, attacking from different angles and methods. This made Xiao Mohu feel like he could not hold on. Damn it, how does he have the 1,000 lights and 10,000 shadows spell, and how can he use so many illusions? Xiao Mohu gritted his teeth. His body emitted an incomparably heavy sound. Steel filled the void. The 8 golden arms held sabers, spears, swords, halberds, hammers, spears, beryllium, and wheels. They danced and whistled, drawing dangerous and sharp arcs in the void, crazily cutting in all directions. With him as the center, sabers, spears, hammers, swords, and spears crisscrossed together, forming an extremely violent weapon storm. Pung! 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 The illusions continued to bombard down, but were directly blown apart by Xiao Mohu's weapon storm. True essence exploded, forming a wild wind. Xiao Mohu used all his strength in each attack. The weapon storm was displayed to the limit. The rocks and bricks in the distance were all drawn over, but before they could even get close, they were torn to pieces by the 8 weapons. However, such a fatal blow that used all his strength to hit nothing was very uncomfortable. However, he really did not know which one was Chu Yang's real body. Before, he was like an idiot crazily chopping people with his saber, but now, he was the idiot being beaten by the crowd. When the crowd saw this turn of events, they did not know what to feel. However, high up in the sky, an old man and a young man watched as Xiaomohu was beaten up by so many Chu-yang. The young man's mouth twitched and he was extremely displeased. My illustrious reputation is at stake. Master, is it too late to rescind our master-disciple relationship now? The old man's complexion was slightly dark, without the slightest sense of elegance and delicacy. His eyes were slightly swollen, and his cheekbones were somewhat protruding, making his face even more bony. A pair of hands with a dull complexion, somewhat withered and thin, like withered branches, appeared above the youth's head without anyone noticing. Dang! The sound of metal hitting stone was immediately heard. The young man was already prepared. A silver light shone from his body, and a small silver wolf popped its head out to receive the old man's blow. The young man's movements were very practiced. I say, Master, I'm being serious here. Can we not use conventional methods? The young man smiled. His smile was like the ripples of a clear spring, overflowing from the small whirlpool at the corner of his mouth, rippling all over his face. He was very pleased with himself. His nose was high, and his face was like an ancient jade, flawless but somewhat pale, as if there was a kind of cold feeling to it. The moment the young man was pleased with himself, a crisp sound immediately rang out, and a bump immediately appeared on his head. The older the ginger, the spicier. He could dodge the first time, but he could not dodge the second time. The expression on his face instantly collapsed, and he said miserably, I say, Master, you look like you're about to die. It's fine if you don't rescind our master-disciple relationship, but can we make a statement? That thing that was made into a red underwear and shaved bald has nothing to do with our noble and ancient existence, the Golden Elder's bloodline? This old man and young man were from the Golden Elder's bloodline of the Five Elements sect. The old man was the current Golden Elder of the Five Elements sect, and the young man was his disciple, the Silver Wolf. Little brat, watch carefully and learn from your senior brother. I say, Master, even if you don't think about the Golden Elder's bloodline, you should think about your disciple having multiple wives and concubines. The Silver Wolf immediately wailed and wailed, with your omnipotent disciple's foresight, that thing will be beaten into a dead dog sooner or later. Master, you're randomly accepting a disciple. You'll have to collect the corpse later. The Golden Elder glared at the Silver Wolf, and the Silver Wolf's neck shrunk, and he immediately hugged his head. I told you to watch carefully, so you watch carefully. Yes. Master, even your fart smells good. Chapter 521. While the Silver Wolf was silently criticizing Xiaomohu for being brainless, Xiaomohu suddenly thought of something, but it was too late. Just as his mind was focused on Chu Yang's phantoms, looking for Chu Yang's real body, he suddenly realized that the shadow lines on the ground were silently circling behind him, trying to control the joints of the golden immortal body like puppet lines. Damn it, this guy used the phantoms to attract me, but the shadow lines are his real goal. A deep shadow flashed across Xiaomohu's heart. Because he was not a metal Sciention lifeform, although he had the 8-arm golden Sciention skill and could use the golden immortal body, it was like controlling a puppet, so he was most afraid of the divine manipulation peak's puppet controlling skills. However, the shadow lines had completely exposed Chu Yang's real body. Rumble! Xiaomohu's mind turned, and 3 of his 8 arms blocked the shadow lines that were lurking towards him. Then he suddenly stepped on a chain and pounced on Chu Yang, while the other 5 arms controlled the halberd, dagger axe, hammer, and wheel. They carried 5 sharp storms and smashed fiercely towards Chu Yang like a violent storm. Ha ha! Chu Yang laughed loudly, as if he had expected this move. He stepped on the ground and suddenly retreated, dodging the attack. Then he flicked the light rays from his fingers at the golden immortal body. Clang! 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 When each light ray hit the golden immortal body, it suddenly appeared like a small electric drill, drilling fiercely into the golden immortal body. The defense was broken. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. The golden elder in the sky narrowed his eyes and said in a cold voice, "What a waste of such a good golden origin! It was beaten to such a state." The silver wolf immediately said, "Master, not everyone can be as amazing as your disciple. I'm a dragon, and that thing is a worm. Do you really think a worm is suitable for a dragon to be his senior brother? I asked you to watch, but did I ask you to speak?" The silver wolf saw the old man's face was extremely ugly, so he immediately shut his mouth. Wind drill. It was one of Chu Yang's killer moves. The difference was that it was executed through light, so its power was much weaker. However, it still managed to penetrate the golden immortal body. At the same time, the shadowy threads also erupted and drilled into the golden body. Xiaomohu was shocked. He wanted to grab the light and shadow to pull Chu Yang over, but Chu Yang suddenly extended the light and shadow, and Xiaomohu's plan fell through. Soon after, a cold light flickered in Chu Yang's eyes as he suddenly stomped his foot. Bang! In the next moment, Chu Yang appeared in front of the golden immortal body. His right hand was like steel, penetrating the defense of the golden 8 arms at an incredible angle. Wind drills appeared in his fist and drilled into the golden immortal body's chest. Boom! Xiaomohu's body trembled as if he had suffered a heavy blow. Berserk golden true essence burst out of his body. Roar! He roared out in panic, then moved his 8 golden arms together. The halberd, spear, beryllium, and wheel in his hands swished shrilly, leaving thousands of blurry arcs in the air, fiercely hacking towards Chu Yang. Boom! Once again, Chu Yang seemed to have predicted that he would not be able to hurt Xiaomohu, but he dodged first. Striding forward with the 5 elements' disordered steps, the light in the void seemed to distort. He instantly circled behind Xiaomohu and drilled into the golden immortal body again. Clang! A cold light flashed. Xiaomohu was shocked. Without even turning his head, he raised one of his arms behind him. Clang! The void was distorted and blurred. A light shadow whizzed and spun, cutting through the void and attacking Chu Yang at an astonishing speed. Chapter 522. Humph! Chu Yang sneered and stepped sideways with his left foot, dodging the attack by a hair's breadth. "You can't hurt me with this little ability." Chu Yang stepped forward and his body floated, breaking through the defense of the 8 arms' golden arm again. The wind drill drilled into its right leg. 1. Chu Yang's spiritual power was expanded to the limit. Everything in front of him fell into his perception, becoming even more detailed. Xiaomohu's movements were even slower. Every movement and every detail was even clearer. Because Chu Yang was watching too carefully, Xiaomohu's movements were even slower in his eyes. Therefore, he could not only see, but also predict in advance. His premonition wasn't that miraculous. The same principle applied to the cicada's premonition of autumn. The cicada did not have the ability to predict the future. It could sense that autumn was coming from many signs. Chu Yang now had the same ability. Not only could he distinguish the smallest flaw, but he could also easily determine the opponent's next attack, position, and threat level. Bang! With a flash of light, Chu Yang bypassed the 8 arms golden arms weapon and drilled into its back. Then a second drill, a third drill, a fourth drill. In terms of combat experience and skills, Xiaomohu and Chu Yang might not be far apart, but their perception was not on the same level. Xiaomohu's golden immortal body had greatly increased his strength and speed, but his soul perception was far from Chu Yang's. With all these factors, the difference in their combat experience and skills was like heaven and earth. Bang! 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 Chu Yang was like an elegant sculptor, carving on the golden immortal body. His work had been passed down through the ages. At this moment, to him, fighting was not just a skill, but a kind of art. Xiao Mohu had a powerful strength, but he had no place to use it. In front of Chu Yang's fighting ability, he was incomparably clumsy. At the same time, rays of light and shadow pierced through the hole that was drilled out of the golden immortal's body. Vital essence flowed rapidly above and poured into the hole. It had to be said that the golden immortal body was very shocking. At first, Chu Yang drilled a hole and instantly recovered. But later, Xiao Mohu's recovery speed could not keep up with Chu Yang's destruction speed. Xiao Mohu's vital essence had been exhausted so much that he could not recover immediately. It was only a matter of time before he lost. Everyone could see that the difference between the two was too great, like the difference between heaven and earth. A frog in the well cannot speak of the sea, and a summer insect cannot speak of the ice. Chu Yang is an existence that Xiao Mohu cannot understand, and I cannot understand him. There were no cries of surprise, only great shock in everyone's hearts. Xiao Mohu was at the 6th level of the Ascendant Soul Realm, many levels higher than Chu Yang. He also had the golden immortal body. But in front of Chu Yang, he could not fight back at all. He was like a headless fly, laughable and pitiful. Limited by experience and shallow knowledge, just what kind of existence is this Chu Yang? How can he be so extraordinary and so shocking? Dragon and worm are different. Dragon and worm really are different. No matter how strong a worm is, it is nothing in front of a dragon. At this moment, everyone felt that Chu Yang was a dragon, and Xiao Mohu was just a pitiful worm. A worm did not know how extraordinary a dragon was, and was arrogantly shouting at a dragon. In the fight between Chu Yang and Xiao Mohu, Chu Yang's performance once again shocked everyone. Xiao Mohu's every attack was completely within Chu Yang's expectations. It was as if Chu Yang could see the future. He was already clear of Xiao Mohu's every move. Predicting the opponent's movements, what kind of talent was this? Mu Hongyi's face was already twisted. Before, he thought that Chu Yang was arrogant, but now he realized that he was stupid. This kind of Chu Yang made him panic and fear. For the first time, he regretted standing against Chu Yang. Song Yangyan, Lu Tianrui, and the others also had the same panic and fear as Mu Hongyi. They originally thought that Chu Yang was only at the 6th or 7th level of the Qi Soul Realm, and that he would win without a doubt. They sneered and ridiculed him as soon as they opened their mouth. They raised their hands and made big bet. At this time, their faces were hurting and their hearts were bleeding. As for Sui Yunfu and the others, Jin Duoduo, Chao Ju, and the Violent Saint, they also did not know that Chu Yang was so shocking. Humph, what an idiot! You completely fell into the opponent's rhythm. That's fine, but you know that you can't block the opponent's attack. Don't tell me that you don't know how to shrink your golden immortal body and increase your defense. What can he do to you then? Once the golden immortal body shrunk, its density and hardness would increase, and its defense would become extremely shocking. High up in the sky, the Golden Elder looked at the battle below and snorted coldly. It was obvious that he was very angry, especially since Chu Yang hadn't even used the supreme technique of the Supreme Elder's lineage. Moreover, Xiao Mo had used both of his hands. But he had still ended up in such a situation. This had simply thrown away the face of the golden lineage. There is really a difference between a dragon and a worm. The Golden Elder was angry. At this moment, in his eyes, Chu Yang was like a giant dragon, and Xiao Mohu was like a worm hiding on a mysterious tree. Little Rabbit, the Star Divine Gold is here. It's your turn. Hearing this, the Silver Wolf almost jumped up. Master, you just said that there is a difference between a dragon and a worm. Even if I am a worm that is not afraid of death, you should not let me, a worm, go and embarrass yourself. Regarding Chu Yang, the Silver Wolf had already sensed a great danger. He was sure that Chu Yang definitely had a shocking trump card that he had not used yet. Humph, usually, Don't you always boast that you are a genius, an omnipotent true dragon, and a darling of the heavens? How did you become a worm now?" The Golden Elder snorted again. This disciple that he had personally taught was definitely not an idiot like Xiaomohu. "Master, that depends on the person. There is a difference between a dragon and a worm. To others, I am naturally a dragon, but now I am a worm." The silver wolf had no integrity. "Not only am I a worm, but I am also a maggot. A maggot in a dung pit, ugly and dirty. If you drag me out, you will not have the face to see anyone. Master, please reconsider. Stop talking nonsense. Just get ready when I tell you to." The silver wolf did not speak. He was very depressed. Who asked the Golden Elder and the Grand Elder to be at odds? He was thinking that he had to preserve his little life when he made his move later. Chapter 523. How did this bastard do it? Why is he able to predict my moves every time? Xiaomohu had long since lost his soul. Ever since he had stepped onto the martial path, he had never encountered such a situation, and he had never encountered an opponent as despairing as Chu Yang. Chu Yang was so shocking that it made one's hair stand on end. Xiaomohu was completely restrained. It wasn't that he hadn't tried to use some fake moves to confuse his opponent, but it was completely useless. His opponent simply wouldn't be confused. Everything in his heart seemed to have been completely understood. He didn't know what to do, but he had inadvertently found a good method. He randomly attacked, and even he didn't know what his next move would be. Chu Yang shouldn't know, right? Bang! The weapons in Golden Eight Arms' hands emitted sharp whistling sounds. Each of them transformed into a small destructive storm, and rushed towards Chu Yang with astonishing power. But in a flash of light, before Xiaomohu could even react, Chu Yang once again passed through his 8 golden arms from an extremely crafty angle and punched out. Damn, he can even predict this! Xiaomohu's hair stood on end as he forcibly withstood Chu Yang's attack. The beryllium, hammer, wheel, and saber in his right forearms cut towards Chu Yang like lightning. Whoosh! In a flash of light, Chu Yang once again moved one step ahead. Before Xiaomohu could counterattack, he retreated ahead of time. With a reverse turn, he turned his hand and sent a wind drill into Xiaomohu's back. "Chu Yang, is this all you've got? Do you dare to fight me head-on?" Xiaomohu roared endlessly. After fighting for so long, he only felt sullen. Right now, he hadn't even touched the corner of Chu Yang's clothes. There had never been a fierce battle that made him feel so uncomfortable. He didn't lack strength or speed, but his opponent was unpredictable, always anticipating his every move and always reacting in advance. Ha ha, a head-on battle? Chu Yang's long hair flew up as he laughed loudly. "Senior brother Xiaomohu, I'll say something that hurts your heart, but you really aren't worthy." His expression was calm, and he was not in a hurry to end the battle. To him, Xiaomohu's strength was the best whetstone for him to hone his various abilities that had been upgraded. Bastard! Hearing Chu Yang's words, Xiaomohu was first infuriated, then he flew into a rage. "I'll kill you!" 1. The weapon in Xiaomohu's hand glowed brightly, and his aura suddenly surged. In the next moment, Xiaomohu seemed to have made up his mind. He loosened his grip, and the 8 weapons in his hands vibrated as they suddenly flew out of his hands. Swish! Swish! 8 weapons pierced through the air with heart-palpitating sharp whistling sounds. With its 8 arms free, the Xiao Mo tiger transformed into a howling hurricane, leaving behind layers of afterimages as it pounced towards Chu Yang. It swept across the distance of several zhang and appeared in front of Chu Yang out of thin air. Its 8 arms waved in unison, smashing towards Chu Yang with the force of 10,000 kilograms of thunder. "It's useless, but I'll take the weapon first. As for your golden immortal body, I'll take it too." Chu Yang laughed. Xiaomohu's weapons flew, and each one seemed to have the power to shatter the heavens. Although it looked spectacular, Xiaomohu's movements were too slow, and it was very easy for him to dodge. Swish, 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 swish. Using the 5 elements' chaotic steps, Chu Yang not only dodged the 8 weapons, but also Xiaomohu's attack. With a sizzling sound, 8 shadows shot out, wrapping around the 8 weapons and pulling them back, landing behind Chu Yang. Xiaomohu also pounced over crazily. Chu Yang laughed. Fine, since you want to fight me head-on, I can waste energy to fulfill your wish. Chu Yang's voice echoed in the air, but Chu Yang's figure had already disappeared. Boom! The sky darkened, as if a huge curtain had covered the sky. Before Xiaomohu could react, a foot appeared in front of him, and the power of this foot was unbelievably strong. It was like a falling meteor, wrapped in an arc of light. Boom! With a flash of light, Xiaomohu didn't even know how Chu Yang had passed through his defense, and was viciously stepped on by this foot. Chapter 524. Even though Xiaomohu had the protection of the golden immortal body, he still felt dizzy after being stomped on. His entire golden body was overturned, and his head was directly stomped into the ground. Boom! Without the slightest gap, Chu Yang once again sent out a kick almost at the same time that Xiaomo staggered backwards. Boom! The earth trembled and the ground caved in. Dirt flew everywhere and smoke billowed. He stomped Xiaomohu's entire golden body into the ground. At this time, with a swish, Chu Yang lightly retreated 3 zhang away. Ah! The air exploded and dust soared into the sky. Xiaomohu's huge golden body rushed out from the ground, but Chu Yang had no intention of attacking again. From the start of the life and death battle, Xiaomohu had been completely toyed with in the palm of his hand. Xiaomohu's tyrannical strength was completely taken away. Without a single punch, Xiaomohu could no longer be his whetstone. There was no need to continue this battle. Senior brother Xiaomohu, you've already lost half the battle. I'll take your golden immortal body. Give it to me and I'll spare your life. Chu Yang looked at the golden immortal body, and his eyes lit up. This thing was not only sturdy but could also repair itself. It was a good treasure and made him very excited. He could not help but rub his hands and laughed. Senior brother Xiao, I want to act cool and make myself look cool. I hope senior brother Xiao can grant me my wish. Act cool. Make himself look cool. His tone and words were like a child who had just gotten a toy, making everyone surprised and speechless. But the last sentence, I hope senior brother Xiao can grant me my wish, was very domineering. Don't be wishful thinking. Xiaomohu roared in horror. Stealing his golden immortal body was simply asking for his life. Everyone naturally understood his feelings. They had never thought that Chu Yang would actually want the golden immortal body. Chu Yang only laughed. Senior brother Xiao, have you heard of the saying, don't say you didn't warn? Senior brother Xiao, let me remind you, you better not make me unhappy. So what if you're unhappy? Xiaomohu roared angrily to vent the fear in his heart. You're just a rat running away. What can you do to a piece of iron? Senior brother Xiao, do you know what the explosive point is? Chu Yang looked at the holes on the huge golden body and immediately howled, Ouch, my baby! That pained look on his face made everyone speechless. Your treasure? He hadn't even gotten it yet, so what was he crying for? Immediately they saw Chu Yang raise both of his hands. Then, the originally transparent, almost invisible, thin lines appeared on his hands. Unknowingly, Chu Yang had already drilled these thin threads into the Xiaomo tiger's enormous golden body. At the same time, the crowd could clearly see the surging qi flowing into the small hole in the huge golden body along with the thin thread. Buzz buzz buzz. Immediately, distorted balls of light appeared in the small hole. There were 2 small balls of light inside that were also twisting, violently expanding and contracting, as if about to explode at any time. With the influx of qi, they twisted even more violently. Xiaomohu was shocked. He wanted to cut these thin threads, but it was too late. Chapter 525. The distorted ball of light was naturally Chu Yang and Little Guai. It was the earth flame that had blasted a hole in the Divine Command Peak's protective formation. Now it was finally displaying its power in front of everyone. Bang bang bang! In an instant, the sound of explosions rang out continuously, but the sound was not very loud. The golden immortal body was extremely sturdy. Endless light also burst out, with the light from the explosions and the golden light from the golden immortal body. The two mixed together, making it impossible to see anything. Whoosh 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 whoosh, the sound of air being torn apart mixed with the low explosions. People only saw that the four limbs of the golden immortal body had been blasted away. There were no Xiaomohu's limbs, nor was there a drop of blood. As expected, Xiaomohu's body is in the golden immortal body's torso, but the golden immortal body is actually so agile, no different from a human. This golden origin is indeed extraordinary. Chu Yang became more and more envious of this golden origin. Accompanied by bits of golden fragments, the four golden limbs were blasted out. The broken parts were like muscles being torn apart, but they quickly wriggled, and the torn parts quickly recovered. The surface of the metal became smooth again, shining with a metallic luster. My treasure! How precious was a metal that could repair itself! Chu Yang saw the golden fragments that had been blasted out. He felt like his heart was being twisted by a knife. His heart was in extreme pain, and he cried out. His voice sounded extremely sorrowful. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. He quickly took the golden limbs in his hand. The moment his hand touched the golden immortal body, he immediately felt the divinity of this metal. It gave off an undying aura, and there was not a single speck of dust on it. No filth could land on it. It was like flesh, without a single trace of hardness. Not only that, when the golden immortal body came into contact with Chu Yang, it immediately sank into Chu Yang's body. It was like a river flowing into the sea, disappearing in an instant. Chu Yang did not feel any discomfort in his body, nor did he feel any abnormalities. It was as if the golden immortal body was originally a part of his flesh. This was an incomparably mysterious feeling. I have the innate golden immortal body. I am also an innate golden immortal body. The golden metal limbs instantly entered Chu Yang's body. Soon after, his body blossomed with a dazzling golden light. At this moment, he had an inexplicable reaction to the metal fragments. Those fragments seemed to be scattered soldiers from the army. Shoo! Shoo! Every fragment was very precious. Chu Yang moved quickly and sucked all the metal fragments back. However, there were too many of them. He simply opened his mouth and swallowed them all. As he swallowed, it was as if he had swallowed the entire world. The air clearly collapsed, and with him as the center, a huge vortex was formed, sucking in all the essence of the world. Such a scene frightened everyone. The eyelids of Song Yangyan, Lu Tianrui, and the others suddenly twitched. Sui Yunfu and the others were also dumbfounded. Chu Yang opened his mouth and swallowed like a prehistoric giant beast eating. It was also like a black hole swallowing everything around it. It was as if he had swallowed all light into his body. How horrifying was this! Who could devour the essence energy of heaven and earth to such a terrifying degree? Is this still a human? Many people were speechless, staring blankly at everything in front of them. At this moment, Xiaomohu, who was in the main body of the golden body, was almost petrified when he saw this scene. What kind of level did a martial spirit have to reach to be able to pour in such an ability to devour the essence energy of heaven and earth? Even Xiaomohu couldn't do this. He couldn't do it when he was in the 6th level of the ascending soul realm. Similarly, those in the 7th, 8th, and 9th levels of the ascending soul realm couldn't do it either. What is his martial spirit? How many martial spirits does he have? No wonder he didn't fear the soul pressure of an ascending soul realm cultivator at the Chi soul realm. His martial spirit is actually so powerful. He's only in the 7th level of the Chi soul realm. Even with a body cultivator, it's definitely not easy to kill someone in the 5th level of the ascending soul realm. However, he did it. His martial spirit is indeed extraordinary. Chapter 526. Not only did Chu Yang possess the genius martial spirit and the idiot martial spirit, but he also possessed the saber sword martial spirit and the flood dragon martial spirit. In addition to the existence of Little Six and Little Black, it was not strange for him to have such an ability. This was also under the condition that he did not use the genius martial spirit and the idiot martial spirit. If he used them, it would be even more shocking. The essence of heaven and earth would not be enough for him to devour, and there would definitely be a situation where he could not continue. If the essence of heaven and earth was endless, then the speed of his true yuan replenishment could completely keep up with the speed of his true yuan consumption. Naturally, this was deliberately displayed by him to increase his influence, so that those in the 5 Elements sect who chose to side with him would have to consider carefully from now on. Come. Chu Yang possessed the innate gold physique. By obtaining a part of the gold origin, he summoned the rest of the gold origin. In an instant, the gold origin wrapped around Xiao Mo, who quickly separated and flew towards Chu Yang, entering his body. The gold origin completely separated from Xiao Mo, whose body, leaving only his slender body floating in the air. Ha ha! Chu Yang laughed heartily. He finally obtained the complete gold origin. He could not wait to try it out. With just a thought, the gold origin rushed out of his body. The gold origin was dazzling. In the midst of the gold origin shining, he was like a gold god, dazzling and dazzling. Ka-ka! Zap zap! Everyone could only hear countless metallic sounds. In the midst of the gold origin, countless pieces of gold metal, gold plate armor, gold gear wheels and so on were rapidly formed. This was according to Chu Yang's mecha concept, and then transformed from the gold origin. The various components of the mecha were of different sizes and shapes, floating in the air. Each component only felt firm and hard, indestructible, heavy, powerful and sharp, but also very exquisite. They combined, connected, and fused together. The sound they made when they collided with each other was like the sound of nature to Chu Yang. It seemed to be the most beautiful music in the world. The light that burst out from the parts where they were combined was also extremely dazzling. When all the components were combined and completely fused together, a golden vajra that was about 2 meters tall completely appeared in front of everyone. Compared to the mountain peak carved out by Heaven Duke, it was even tougher, straighter, and had a more exquisite outline. It was righteous, brave, gorgeous, thick, steady, and sturdy. It was like a golden sun, bursting with endless rays of light. It was like a heavenly god, with its divine might and domineering aura. Everyone couldn't help but tremble. No one knew what it was. There were only 2 questions buzzing in their minds. Chu Yang had actually grasped the gold origin left behind by the Gold Elder in an instant. The metallic body that Chu Yang had transformed into was actually so powerful, sturdy, and domineering, and cool. Just like what Chu Yang said before, it was cool, too cool. It would be strange if they knew what it was. It could be called a Gundam or a mecha, but Chu Yang felt that the Transformers were the most suitable. The gold origin could transform into many forms. Haha, I'll call it the Transformers. I'll be a Transformers in the future too. The immortal golden body that Chu Yang transformed from the combination of the gold origin was completely different from Xiaomohu's. His 4 limbs were the immortal golden body's 4 limbs. He was the immortal golden body, and the immortal golden body was him. The transformers, which was also the immortal golden body, allowed Chu Yang's strength to completely break through the upper limit of the 7th tier of the Chi Soul realm. The strength of 8 dragons and 9 elephants. The strength of 9 dragons and 9 elephants. The strength of 10 dragons and 9 elephants. In the end, it was raised to the strength of 17 dragons and 9 elephants, which was an increase of 10 dragons' strength. Swoosh! Chu Yang tested it. When he took a step forward, he realized that not only did his strength increase, his speed increased as well. He even burst out with a sonic boom. In an instant, he appeared in front of Xiao Mohu. With a raise of his hand, he smacked Xiao Mohu's head directly into his chest. The headless body fell to the ground with a dull thud. From the beginning to the end, Xiao Mohu didn't react. My perception has also increased. Chapter 527. Chu Yang continued to experiment. Along with a series of metallic sounds, the transformer continued to change and change. With a burst of golden light, a golden off-road vehicle jumped into everyone's eyes. Chu Yang was sitting in the driver's seat, habitually turning on the ignition to start the car, but it was a delusion. He knew the general structure of a car, but he had no idea how the car's power was transmitted and how the parts moved, so he could not change the golden origin. Vital essence could be used as power, but it would not be easy to burst out the high speed of the engine. The golden origin could be changed at will, but the larger the size, the more obvious the weakening of hardness, toughness, and other aspects. Chu Yang changed again, and this time, he changed into a small plane. Naturally, it could not fly. He could control the 2 wings of the plane like an eagle, but it was completely different from a plane. Whether it was the transformer, the car, or the plane, these were just Chu Yang reminiscing about his past life. They were not as perfect as he had expected. He was a little regretful, but he did not care much. If he wanted to, he could do it. He could do it through the array. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, Chu Yang messed around and wasted everyone's time, but this did not arouse any bad feelings, because all of this was very magical and shocking. The car and plane he changed into were also strange and strange. Everyone even thought that such a form had great divine power. Therefore, although Chu Yang was messing around, almost everyone's eyes were fixed on him without blinking. Chu Yang could instantly control the golden origin left behind by the Golden Elder. This was an extremely shocking thing, and the more he changed, the more it proved that he could control the golden origin as he wished. Compared to Xiao Mohu, the difference was obvious. Xiao Mohu was like holding a divine weapon. He only knew that it could kill people, but he did not know the basic moves and did not have the slightest cultivation, so he could not unleash the power of the divine weapon. Chu Yang was different. He seemed to have given the divine weapon spirituality and even divine power. It was the same scene, but everyone reacted differently and felt differently. Sui Yunfu, Long Feisai, and Du Guangbo were not only shocked, but also pleasantly surprised. On the other hand, Mu Hongyi, Song Yangyan, Lu Tianrui, and the others were pale, green, and purple. Of the old man and the young man in the sky, Yu Chuyang's mastery of the golden origin was the most shocking. The 2 of them were like 2 fish. Their eyes were bulging, their breathing was rapid, and their mouths were moving. They were like fish out of water, almost unable to breathe. Go. Follow your senior brother and use half of your star divine gold to exchange for half of the golden origin. Senior brother. The silver wolf was already dumbfounded. When it suddenly heard the old man speak, its eyeballs almost turned into eggs and jumped out of its eye sockets, falling into the old man's mouth and swallowing it. Mas. Master, the senior brother you're talking about is him. The silver wolf was extremely shocked. It was as if his tongue was tied, and he stuttered as if he was stuttering. He pointed at Chu Yang from the sky. His body was like a withered leaf fluttering in the wind. His expression was extremely interesting. Why not? The Golden Elder's turbid eyes suddenly became clear. His old eyes were as wide as a bull's eyes. Could it be that you think that bug is your senior brother? You're really good. The Silver Wolf was speechless. This was in line with the old man's style. But what about the grudge between the Grand Elder and the Golden Elder? He was prepared to die and to kill Chu Yang. But in the end it turned out like this. He was caught off guard. What are you waiting for? Go. The Golden Elder hit the Silver Wolf's head and fiercely scolded, "You're just a bug that even bugs look down on. Do you think I'll be interested in that thing and accept you as my disciple? I'm already blind." The Silver Wolf was speechless. He realized that he might really be a complete idiot. This old man must have taken that Xiao Mo tiger maggot as his disciple. Now that he saw that senior brother Chu Yang was shocked by him, he shamelessly changed his mind. The change was really seamless, shameless to the extreme, as expected of my master. Then, the Silver Wolf immediately became suspicious. He cursed in his heart, but his mouth kept saying, "Yes, yes, yes. Master, your true dragon disciple, the omnipotent disciple, will go immediately. I promise to recognize this senior brother." Chapter 528. Whoosh! The Silver Wolf was like a ray of silver light, cutting through the void and descending from the sky. Before he arrived, he was already shouting at Chu Yang in a flattering manner, "Senior brother is indeed mighty. Looking at the mountains, lowering your head, looking at the water flowing backward. This is truly unprecedented. Junior brother admires you so much. I will revere and worship you for 10,000 years." His sudden appearance immediately attracted everyone's attention. Looking at the water flowing backwards, why don't you say that I'm looking at pigs dying and cows flipping over? Can you speak human language? Chu Yang glanced at the Silver Wolf and immediately concluded that he was a pretty boy. Whose pretty boy is that? Do you call people father and mother whenever you see them? Aren't you a little too casual? Let me give you a piece of advice. The mouth is the door of disaster, the tongue is the blade that cuts off the body. Close your mouth and hide your tongue, and you'll be in prison everywhere. The mouth is the door of disaster, the tongue is the blade that cuts off the body. Close your mouth and hide your tongue, and you'll be in prison everywhere. Hearing this, the Silver Wolf felt that this senior brother of his was very cultured and profound in his shamelessness. The combination of shamelessness and elegance really made him look cool. He immediately found the cultivation direction of shamelessness and immediately beamed with joy. "Senior brother, you are indeed full of wisdom. Just by opening your mouth, you can make the literati star sink, the fish and beasts fall, and obscure the moon, and put the flowers to shame. I, your junior brother, am really enlightened. The path ahead is infinitely bright." The Silver Wolf immediately applied what he had learned. If his words were not cultured and profound, he could guarantee that he would definitely not understand. Moreover, the literati star sink, the fish and beasts fall, and obscure the moon, and put the flowers to shame. How imaginative was he! Who could be as ingenious as him? With a stroke of genius, he could make people gasp in surprise and bite off his tongue, unintentionally committing suicide. Only he, the Silver Wolf, was the one and only in the world, the Silver Wolf brimming with talent. "Senior Marshal brother, it was Master who asked me to come. He said that as the joint successor of the Grand Elder and the Golden Elder, you have an important mission on your shoulders. He said that the grudges between the Grand Elder and the Golden Elder would be resolved by you. That's why Senior Marshal brother felt that what you did just now was not amazing enough, so he sent me to warn Senior Marshal brother. He hopes that Senior Marshal Brother will continue to work hard and shine the glory of the two branches in the world, so that everyone knows about it. The Silver Wolf's words caused a huge commotion. In an instant, everyone was fiercely shocked. Chu Yang actually had such an identity, the joint descendant of the Grand Elder and the Golden Elder. He even bore the heavy responsibility of resolving the grudges between the two factions. If that was the case, then Chu Yang was truly shocking. His status was almost on par with the Five Elements Divine Child. Sui Yun Fu's heart skipped a beat, and he immediately understood. No wonder he dared to provoke the Five Elements Divine Child. So he has such an identity. In an instant, Wood Elemental Peak Lord Chao Rong, Fire Elemental Peak Lord Song Yangyan, and Water Elemental Peak Lord Lu Tianrui all followed the same logic as Yun Fu. They were extremely shocked and naturally had different feelings. Song Yangyan and Lu Tianrui even had mixed feelings, as if a bottle of mixed feelings had been knocked over. Chu Yang was slightly stunned and thought to himself, "This gigolo is really something. I really can't refuse him." Then, he said with a smile, "Junior Marshal Brother, what you did was wrong. You jumped out and revealed my identity to the world. In the future, how can I pretend to be a pig to eat a tiger? You're guilty." The Silver Wolf felt that Chu Yang's playful Senior Marshal Brother was getting more and more in tune with his temper. He said with a smile, "Senior Marshal Brother, I'm sorry. Pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger is too low level. I'll take it." After that, he got down to business. He said telepathically, "Senior Marshal Brother, the most shocking thing is that the origin of gold and the stellar divine metal are half and half fused. The stellar divine metal is with me." "Got it. Do it quietly." After Chu Yang's telepathic message, he said, "Junior Marshal Brother, since Master thinks that I'm not limitless enough, I can only continue to be limitless. Please allow me to shine a little more." With that, Chu Yang looked at Mu Hongyi and said with a smile, "Uncle Master Mu, I win. Please cut off one of my legs." Boom! The whole world seemed to shake because of Chu Yang's words. It was as if the end of the world had arrived. Chu Yang actually wanted Mu Hongyi to cut off one of his legs. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.